level, you're in the right place. It's time to take control of your future starting now, and we're doing it live. Hi, we're the Stidhams, and our goal is to help you get self-directed. It's the tax-free income that will shape your legacy. It's wealth, time, and the freedom you deserve. What you're about to learn will enable you to make confident and strategic moves. It means gaining complete control to invest in what you want when you want. We've helped thousands of people just like you. And if they can do it, you can too. So we hope you're ready, because it's about time that your money started working for you. And we're so excited that you chose us to show you how.
Starting right now.
That wasn't part of the plan. Welcome.
That's how you kick off a show.
Welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us. Last month, we showed you how, we showed you how we got over 200 months ahead on our mortgage in just under 8 months. Now, this has been a popular video for us, and well, that was the point, because we definitely wanted to share it. I've been begging Donnell to share it for a really long time. So, and this is why even some of the comments that we are getting are like, golly, I wish I would have seen this 6 months ago or a year ago, because I just recently refinanced my home. Now, since then, we have gotten a flood of phone calls asking, how can I do this? How can I do this with my home, right? First position HELOC questions specifically.
Absolutely. So first off, you were right.
Oh,
Did I say it?
that's
You were right. Because you're right. Part of my challenge on doing a video around a first position HELOC or a second position HELOC in general is just because I know my lane. And I think I've always considered my lane as a retirement planner, not as someone who does velocity banking or does infinite banking or anything like that. But in truth, I do get the strategy. And so sharing with people how we were able to get from where we were to where we are by using different strategies absolutely makes sense. So yes, I fought you for a long time putting together a video like that. But I think go ahead.
why did you fight me? Let's just, for just a second, let's just stay right here.
Should I
Why?
lay down on the couch? I mean, is this the therapy moment? Like,
This is the reason why I'm asking. There are so many people who feel like like they can't learn this information. They need someone to hand them their strategy, and that it might be too big or too complicated or too overwhelming for them to be able to learn on their own. And the reason why I wanted you to just say it was because even though we were making these pretty significant moves in our own financial journey,
right.
you felt like you couldn't talk about it because you weren't like the expert.
Fear.
Right?
It's fear. Like, it's nothing other than fear. And I think it has taken me quite some time to kind of step into what I think is my purpose. And what has prevented me from stepping into what I feel is my purpose has always been fear. It hasn't been anything other than fear of the unknown. Hey, will I be viewed as someone who thinks they know but don't necessarily know? Like, all that kind of stuff. And so I think at this ripe old age of 50, I've also developed my dial of, I really don't care what you think. That dial has kind of been turned up a notch. But I think in addition, you said it very, very well. If I feel as though this is my purpose, then how are people to receive that information if I don't meet those people where they are? And I couldn't argue with that. The truth is, if there's a message that I feel like needs to be received, I need to put myself out there and allow people to receive it. However, it is received. So I think that's the part. And I do appreciate you for that, because that is all you. Like I said, I just say words, and everything else it's all you. It's all you. So.
Well, in this last week, I think that sentiment, the sense of purpose, has been confirmed so many times in the past like month or so, for sure, especially since we started going live, right?
Okay.
And My favorite part is hearing you on the phone with people or on a call with people because I can hear you through through the door and whatnot,
Through the
and
walls.
through the walls. Yeah,
Why are you yelling? I'm not yelling.
and one, it does sound like he's yelling in our home just because I don't know how this house is built. Whatever, we can just hear it. But he's so passionate, right? It does sound like he's like yelling at people. But the other one is when you just crack up laughing. You laugh a lot on these calls, and
No doubt.
the amount of joy, that's the part that just warms my heart, is like the amount of joy that people feel with you, even though sometimes these conversations are rough. Sometimes these
No doubt.
conversations are emotional. And when they call you and they are so excited, like the example that we're going to show today, where she was so excited to get a first position, he like, Donna, give me the steps, let's go. And you were like, well, hold on a second. Actually, I'm that's not where we're going. And now we're going to show you exactly what we're talking about, and we're going to walk through this example because you're going to be able to see the power in understanding a strategy, the power in understanding how to pivot, where your leverage is, all of those steps that are required within your strategy and applying it to your particular situation. You're going to learn that today with this example. And this is so perfect because you said probably how many calls were about this topic last week?
So I would say easily 11. Easily 11 different calls around, hey, I saw this video and
And your wife said,
right. And I want to be able to take advantage of the equity in my home to be able to do these things. And when you start peeling back the layers, well, okay, not a problem. Okay, first position HELOC. Yep. First position HELOC is right on par with how we were able to get where we are. So yes, not a problem. And as you start peeling back the layers, and one that all this like it stays at the forefront of my mind is a gentleman that I talked to who has a mortgage with a 0.65% interest rate. 0.65. And he was excited to talk to me about getting a first position HELOC in place of his mortgage. He had already gone down the path, talked to some banks, and was already kind of walking me through the steps of where he was headed for a 8, 9, 10% first position HELOC to replace his 0.65% mortgage. And I'm trying to pump the brakes, and he's going, you were the one that said it doesn't matter about the interest rate. So
that's
if it doesn't
right.
matter about the interest rate, let's head on down this path and replace this 0.65%
Yeah,
mortgage.
might
And
as well.
right. And the truth around that is, yes, I can head over to the board right now and I can justify a 10% first position HELOC and the things that you can do with that HELOC that you can't do with your mortgage that makes it make sense around why you would want to replace that mortgage. But in addition to that, there are also other opportunities and other pathways that we can go to still take that same opportunity or still take advantage of the power of having cheap money on your home at 0.65 and still accomplish the goal. So we have to back up and go, so what is the goal? Because if the goal is what I think it is, then we can get there multiple ways. There's many different ways. What we're going to walk you through today, there's probably an infinite amount of ways you can approach this. This one is just the one that I chose. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the only one. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the one that's right for you. It just means that this is one of many. And so what I hope today does is it just jogs thought around, hey, these are some things that I could attempt, try, approach, research to understand whether or not this is something that fits for me.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. And I think this is a great segue here because Mrs. AB says, I'm fighting with the word leverage. My biggest goal has been to be debt free. And I appreciate how you shared all the various ways you can complete your goals. Everything is not for everyone, and it's okay. And it can't be for everyone.
right.
And that really is the point, is knowing that there are other strategies out there and this is your puzzle, right? So you're finding your pieces. Now what we teach are the 5 pieces in our puzzle and how they have fit together to create a money making machine, essentially, right? An insane amount of leverage. But by leverage, we mean your power, right? leverage is also your control. Leverage is a lot of different things, and it comes in many different forms. But you have to be able to see past what we were talking about last time, was that surface math. You have to be able to see past that and into where the opportunity is. And that's essentially what we're going to show you. Is first, I mean, we got a surprise actually. I don't want to ruin it. I was about to ruin it. Okay.
She doesn't know how to keep secrets, so
I'm
whatever.
horrible at that. Okay, because I'm so excited, and I know you guys are going to be like, "What?" Okay, this piece though, this story today is so important for anybody who is considering a HELOC. And so, if you know somebody who is about to refinance their home, if you know someone who has a rental property, get them in here, and let's walk through it together. That way, they can ask their questions. So, are
Yeah,
you?
and well, yeah, but just to button this up, it's about getting self-directed. All we're walking you through is how to have more control over your destiny by leveraging the vehicles that you have. One of our largest, if not the largest asset we will ever have is traditionally the home that we live in. 9 times out of 10, your home is worth more than that rental property, or your home is worth more than that land you've been sitting on, or that investment in that stock market. 9 times out of 10, our home is our largest asset. But it's the last thing that we ever think to leverage to actually help us hit our goal of whatever that might be to achieve our WTF moment. And why is that? And I believe it's more conditioning than anything else. We haven't been properly educated on how to leverage our home as a tool. We will destroy our retirement to save our home. We will destroy our credit history to save our home. Why wouldn't we leverage our home to build our retirement? Like it's backwards, at least in my
Yeah.
mind. So,
Well, and we're going to show them a different way.
yep, let's do
So,
it.
if you're into unconventional strategies, if you're looking for a different way, the ways that we've had just don't serve us anymore. And so, we have to be able to understand what other options are available out there. Oh, I love that. Yes, and please show us some love if you get value from our videos and from our live streams. Please like this and share it and comment. All of that helps us grow, and we really appreciate that.
And see, and that's the rookie social media stuff that I'm a rookie at that. Like you've never heard me say hit like if, or you know what, we need some taps before I get into this next thing. So we need to get more people in here. So I don't even know if this is a platform that does that.
No,
Like
you
I
don't tap here.
see, I don't know anything about all of that.
That's
Let's jump into
okay.
this thing.
Yeah, that's okay. We would much rather have you be here organically and
Tap
because you
anyway.
want to than be here to be performative. So,
Right.
I
I
mean, that's
agree.
really what it is. We don't have to be experts at live streaming. We don't have to be experts at YouTube or social media to get out here and share what we're sharing. And I think that's kind of the point, right?
I do think it would be dope if we got that bingo card made though. Like, how many times did Donnell say this? How many times did Angelique say that? Did he take a drink? Did his
Yeah.
camera freeze? Like, I think
Yeah,
that would
we
be
might
dope.
we
So,
might start bingo for sure,
I think that
especially
would be
for the
dope.
camera freezing. I
Yeah,
mean,
let's do it.
that's got to get a super
It
price.
has to be in the center. That one should be in the center.
All right. You ready?
All right. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's jump in.
So, okay, to kind of set the stage for what we're going to talk about today. Like I said, I had many different conversations this week around a first position HELOC in place of the mortgage, and most of them all ended in the same direction because what I learned is when you started peeling back layers. There's equity in this home that's easily accessible. It's just that we haven't really talked through some non-conventional ways of being able to access it. So, to kind of set the stage for this example specifically, it's a call that I had with a young lady who not only has a primary residence, but she also has a rental. And her goal is to pay off both of those homes, eliminate the debt of both of them. So her primary and her secondary rental, and pay them both off and then start focusing on retirement. She's 53 in age and her time horizon is 15 years, meaning by age, what is it, 68, she wants to be in a position where she's producing tax-free income and headed down that path of retirement. So her time, again, the time horizon is 15 years. So to kind of jump into it, Name's Claudia, 53. She makes about $120,000 in income. And again, her goal is to pay off both homes. She wants the tax-free income. And yes, legacy is absolutely a goal. But I emphasize the pay off her homes because when you meet with me, my first question is your goal. And when you tell me whatever whatever response that is you give me, I then start peeling back layers to understand what's behind that initial goal. But she made it very clear that goal number one was to pay off both. So these are the two properties that she currently has. She's got a primary residence that's a mortgage of about $340,000 on it. She's paying about $1,600 a month. Got about a 2.75% interest rate on it. I think the original purchase of that home was like $400,000 or something like that. The rental, she has about $158,000 on the mortgage on it. It's currently bringing in about $1,241 in rent. The mortgage payment on it is $800, so there's cash flow about $441. I want to highlight something here around this rental though, because I think there's a theme that a lot of I'll call it real estate entrepreneurs who have rentals. Majority of them who have a rental, some type of single family home, regardless of how many, all of them bring somewhere between, I'll call it $400 to $600 a month after all of the fees and stuff. So I thought it was interesting that hers would fit right into that bucket. And I'll bring that up later on when we talk about how to build for retirement. So obviously she has spent some time with us. Been on a few lives and was eager to kind of jump on a call with me to kind of walk through what some of the options were. And yes, I'm pretty confident she does find my wife's jokes funny. But at any rate, the goal was to focus on retirement, meaning it started with, hey, I want to pay off these homes. I want to get that weight off my shoulders. Once I get this weight off my shoulders, I want to be able to focus on retirement and see what that looks like to be able to build secure, uninterrupted compound interest over time. And she made it, I want to stress this because I don't normally care about paying off a home. I want to leverage the home, but she stressed the fact that the goal is to pay off the homes, use the cash flow from those homes, and then start working on retirement. And obviously, I love it when I meet with clients and they throw my words back at me. I've had several people reach out and say they wanted their WTF moment. She wanted to be able to put herself in a position to where she's generating wealth, have more control over her time so that she can generate that true freedom and build a legacy. And again, her time horizon, that time period was about 15 years that we're focused on.
I love that. I love when they call in and they're like, yeah, I'm here for my WTF moment. Like,
right.
Bag it up.
So retirement wise, currently is, contributing the max to her company's retirement account. And outside of that, I believe, she didn't say this, but I believe real estate was going to be her path. And I think she got her first rental and realized there was a bit more work than was expected. And so currently her current retirement is subject to market risk, so really no true security there. And because it's a traditional retirement account that she has with her employer, we're talking about tax deferred dollars. So at some point you will pay taxes on that. And that 3 T's. And this is the piece I wanted to highlight as it relates to the rental. So again, most people that I know who are in real estate and thinking of using real estate as their retirement income, they all make somewhere between that $400 and $600 like cash flow, meaning once all bills are paid, once the mortgage is paid off, it's about $400 to $600. Every now and then I'll hit a client who's got about $1,000 in cash flow coming from a rental. But she makes $120,000 a year. If buying rentals is the path to be able to achieve retirement income, how many rentals would it take to be able to achieve your income in retirement? Now, as it specifically relates to Claudia, that math ends up being about 20 rentals. But think of it for any of you who are watching tonight who are thinking about using real estate as your path forward. That residual income on a monthly and annual basis isn't what you may think it is, unless we're talking about large numbers, like I'll call it the $500,000 and above size homes that people are fixing, flipping, or buying and holding. Okay, there's some I guess room around those, but the traditional single family homes that's sitting in that market where you're buying them around that 40,000 to I'll call it $250,000 range. Traditionally, that passive income is somewhere around $500, $600. So we're talking again 20, if not 30 rentals to be able to achieve your income, and that's a significant amount of work.
Yeah, that's not anything I'm interested in.
But I mean, there are people that are. So I just want to make sure to call it out, that be conscious of what that number is. Because if you're up to your 10th, just realize you've got about 20 more to go. Right.
Wait, I'm jumping in here really quick.
Yes, do it.
Please put it in the comments if you're interested in managing 20 to 30 rental properties so that we can see if the stats are true. Because
meet with them all the time.
I'm pretty sure that people will say that, but if you really were thinking through, not a management company necessarily, you have 20 to 30 rentals, and regardless, you've got to be able to cover all of them, all of the things, taxes, the whole thing. Okay. If you are down to do that, put it in the comments. And if you're not down to do that, really put in the comments that we can prove me right again.
But that's also why it's traditionally around $400 to $600 a month in passive income, because you are paying a management company. Like if you got 20 rentals, you've got 2 rentals, you got a management company. So that is the reason why. So I don't think that's outside of the scope. So when we met, it became very apparent that she's got a pretty large asset here, actually 2. She's got cash flow. Based off her income, she makes about $8,000 a month. She's got about $5,000 in expenses. So there's about $3,000 in cash flow. And then the equity in both homes, compared to what they were worth, compared to what the mortgage is on them currently, it's about $210,000 in her primary residence and about $142,000 in her rental. And so again, she came to me with, hey, I want to pay off both these homes, and I am looking to do a first position HELOC, get rid of my 2.75% interest rate on my primary mortgage, or get rid of the 2.25% interest rate on the rental and pay them off, and use a first position HELOC to be able to do velocity banking, build cash flow so that I can start producing some secure compound interest. Like, I get it. That's an awesome goal. But I think there's a way to kind of look at this a little bit differently. And so, let's see here.
I'm winning, by the way, in the chat. People are saying absolutely, immediately no.
Right. So, what we discussed, or what I shared, was, have you thought about using a second position HELOC instead of a first? And the immediate comment that I got was, you didn't tell me about a second position HELOC. And okay. And so, which I think that what prompted us to go ahead and do this video today, because you're right. I speak heavily on a first position HELOC. Why? Because we have one, and it's been very, very powerful for us. But the truth is, interest rates aren't the greatest right now. And so what we discussed is, hey, what if you got a second position HELOC? And then you got that second position HELOC, took whatever that sum was, and I think in this case it's $100,000, took that $100,000 and dumped it onto your mortgage. And in dumping it onto your mortgage, then we recast the mortgage to be able to change the amount that you're currently spending in monthly mortgage payments, and then use that strategy throughout whatever that period of time might be to pay off the mortgage, if that's what the goal is. Well, obviously I threw some words in there that you need some clarification on. So one is recast. Like, what do we even mean? Well, you have an opportunity. Most people with mortgages have an opportunity to recast their mortgage as often as they would like. It really depends on the bank, and does depend on the type of mortgage that you have. And I'd say the one that comes to mind as to ones that traditionally can't do a recast are usually veterans with VA loans. But for the most part, I've yet to run into someone who, outside of the military, who couldn't recast a mortgage when they wanted to. And so let's kind of talk through that a little bit. So what we're talking about doing is, she has a primary residence with about $210,000 of equity on it, and a rental property with about $142,000 of equity. So the thought process is this: let's get a second position HELOC on the primary residence. So why the primary residence instead of the rental? Well, mainly because a primary residence, that process is usually a little bit easier to go through with a bank. And we've already established she's got decent income. She's got decent cash flow. She didn't reach out to me because she's struggling paying bills or have high expenses or high debt that she needs to cover. She called with a specific goal, and that was to pay off these homes because she's already financially in a position to where she can qualify for these type of opportunities. So what we talked about was taking a second position HELOC, using the equity in the home of the primary residence, getting a second position HELOC on that primary at whatever that interest rate is that we find, and then taking that second position HELOC and actually dumping it on the mortgage of the rental. So again, I want to say this again: get a second position. Can get the word out. Get a second position HELOC on the first on the primary residence. Get a second position HELOC on the primary residence. Take that dollar amount and dump that dollar amount on the principal of the rental. So why are we taking it from the primary residence and dumping it on the rental? It's because the balance on the rental is only $158,000. If we do this right, we can pay that $158,000 mortgage off pretty quickly. And so that was kind of what we did. So that's kind of what's highlighted here is we get a second position instead of a first. We're going to end up taking about $100,000 in a second position mortgage, dump that $100,000 onto the primary residence, and then we're going to recast the mortgage payment from $800 a month down to $290. So again, but what is a recast? A recast is an opportunity that a bank offers you whenever you're dumping some large sum onto a mortgage. You're allowed to then recast or recount or readjust the mortgage payment based off the place that you currently are in the amortization schedule. So let's say you buy a home and there's a 30-year mortgage on it. You've been paying on this 30-year mortgage for the last 10 years or whatnot. So you've got 20 years left. Let's say you dump $50,000 into your mortgage. Well, when you do that, that actually moves where you currently are at year 10 down the amortization schedule to later in the amortization schedule because of that $15,000 sum that you put into onto the principal. So when you dump that money onto the principal, it drops you down on the amortization schedule. So the idea behind that is now we go back to the bank and just readjust a full, so the bank wants to keep you in the position that you were in. So if you were at month 10, meaning you had 20 years left, and it dropped you down on your amortization schedule, they want to keep you at that point. So now we're going to readjust for that $50,000 difference for that same 20-year period. And I'll show you what I mean, but I just want to say what it looks like. Bottom line is we're going to adjust that amortization schedule, recast your mortgage for the point in which you currently are based off the new dollar amount. And what happens is that lowers your monthly payment. And so in this case, it lowers the monthly payment from the $800 a month that it was originally showing down to $290. So I just wanted to kind of talk through that a little bit as well. So as I mentioned, we get a second position HELOC based off this $340,000 home. Well, the original mortgage was $400, and the home appraised right around $550. So if the home appraises right around $550, most banks offer about 80% LTV on your home equity line of credit. So what's 80% of $550? 80% of $550 is about $440,000. Well, if we already have a mortgage of $340, 80% of $550 is $440. So $340 minus the $440 leaves $100,000. So an 80% LTV second position HELOC would equate to about $100,000. So we're going to take this $100,000, and then we're going to take this $100,000 and we're going to immediately move it onto this $158,000 rental. Meaning we're going to dump that $100,000, all of it, all into the principal of the rental property. And then once we do that, what happens? Well, I think the first thing that I want to do is I'll come over here to this busy visual here, and I apologize with all of my handwriting, but I want to step through how we go about using a second position HELOC. So I'm going to bounce back and forth between the HELOC calculator and the mortgage calculator to be able to explain what those steps look like. Okay. So where do we start?
Yeah.
So the first place we start is, hey, we've already received the $100,000 from the second position HELOC that we did on our primary residence. So we have this $100,000 available. What are we going to do? where we're going to dump that $100,000 into the on top of the mortgage of the rental property. The mortgage currently on the mortgage owed on the rental property is currently $158,000. So I want to jump over to the mortgage calculator and just show you what that looks like in the calculator itself. So we have to first start here. So we've got, make this a little bit bigger for you. So we've got $210,000 is the original purchase price of that rental property. And the current mortgage payment is right around $800 a month. So $210,000 is the purchase price. It has our interest rate of 2.25%. And again, it's a 30-year mortgage, and don't really pay attention to this date. It's just a date that I chose inside the calculator, because you'll see this date later on. But the bottom line is the original purchase price is $210. Mortgage cost is about $800 a month. And what does this amortization schedule look like? Well, we currently owe $158,000. So we're currently somewhere in this range. Oh, sorry. We're currently somewhere in this range right here. So to go into a little bit more detail, at $158,000, we are currently sitting here on this amortization schedule. So we're somewhere right in this area based off the current balance owed on that mortgage. So what we want to do is take $100,000 and dump it right here. Well, when we do that, when we dump that $100,000 into this $158,000, that means the new balance on this mortgage is now $58,000. So the thumbnail on our original video was how we got 200 months ahead on our mortgage. Notice going from $158,000 down to 58 drops her down to here on the amortization schedule. So it went from whatever it was, 131 months or something like that, all the way down to 282. So this is how you achieve such a feat. So what we want to do, though, is recast the mortgage based off where we were. So if we were here, if I can get to it fast enough, if we were here at 158,000 and we dump $100,000 in, that means we want to recast the mortgage based off this place. So where is this place? We're in end of year 9 here. So I'm just going to use year 9. So 9 minus 30 years would be 21 years. So we want to recast this mortgage of 58,000, because again, I'm going to dump the 100,000 in. I want to recast the mortgage of 58,000 based off 21 years. So what does that look like? So then I come into my mortgage calculator. Again, because I've dumped the $100,000 in, I'm left with about a $58,000 balance. And I want to recast this mortgage based off 21 years. And same interest rate. And again, that's the power of this interest rate that she has. So rather than get a first position HELOC and replace that $158,000, we were able to take $100,000 second position, dump it onto the primary mortgage, still take advantage of that low interest rate, recast it, and let me show you what that new monthly payment would be. So it went from, make this bigger, it went from $800 a month to $289. So just by recasting the mortgage payment has now dropped from $800 a month to $290 a month. So what does that mean? Well, if my income is $8,000 and my expenses are $3,000, that means my income is $8,000, my expenses is $5,000. That means that income, or that cash flow of $3,000, is improved just based off recasting this mortgage and dumping $100,000 in it. But that also means I have two payments. I have a $290 mortgage payment on my rental, and I have $100,000 at 8.76%. First position HELOC payment that has to be addressed as well. Now I'll get there, but I just want to show you what this looks like. So we recast the mortgage, and so now we're sitting at $290 a month. So I want to come over here to the to this graph and just kind of detail what that looks like on the graph. If you jump over.
Yep, you got it. You're on the graph. Which was nice and clean when I gave it to you.
Yes, it was.
I love
it is
how
no
you
longer
colored all over it, though. It looks pretty.
I'll let you know. I mean, I'll walk you through what that looks like. So again, we're talking about two homes here, right? We've got the original property that is worth about, or the original purchase price was about 400,000. We've got the rental property. The original purchase price was about 210, and the goal is to pay them both off. And so I just kind of wanted to step through what that would look like. Well, here we are at the 340,000 mark of the primary residence, and the 158,000 mark of the rental property. When I take this second position HELOC from the primary residence, this starts the performance of that HELOC. So the blue line is the HELOC. When I dump $100,000 onto this $158,000 mortgage, it immediately drops the balance down 100,000 down to 58. So we made our first chunk of 100,000. And when we made that first chunk of 100,000, we recast the mortgage of 58 over that 21 year period. And so this is the start of everything, this point right here. And so when we did that, as I mentioned, income is 8,000, expenses is 5,000. So this original $16,000 mortgage doesn't change. This $800 a month rental mortgage does change though. It has moved from $800 down to $290. So what does that do to my expenses? If my expenses are 5,000, it's now become 5,000 minus the difference between these two numbers, which means my expenses have now dropped from 5,000 to 4,490. Why does that matter? Why does that expense change matter? Well, it matters because I still have a second position HELOC that I need to address. So now what I want to do is jump to the HELOC calculator and walk you through how we're going to address that second position HELOC. So if we jump over to the HELOC calculator.
Yep, we jumped.
So hide the report. So I'm going to punch it in here. So it's $100,000. Here, let me do that. There we go. It's $100,000. Oh, that is incorrect. Let me get rid of this. Oh, no, it's right. So it's $100,000 is the second position HELOC at 8.76%. And the income is $8,000. The expenses minus the new mortgage on the rental is now $4,490. So if my income is $8,000 and my expenses are $4,490, the question is, how long will it take for me to pay off this $100,000? So we hit calculate, and it's going to make sure it calculated. Just want to make sure. Yep. And so it's going to take somewhere around 32 months to pay off that $100,000. So if we wanted to take all, if we wanted to pay off all $100,000 and get back down to zero, it would take us 32 months to do so. But let's think about what we just did. We just took $100,000 to pay off or pay towards a $158,000 mortgage. So when we dumped $100,000 on, it dropped that balance down to 58. If the goal is to pay off the rental, I don't have to wait till I pay off $100,000 to make another chunk. So I want to make that other chunk when I have at least $50,000 of room on here. So it's going to be somewhere in this area as to when I'm going to make my next chunk. But let's see what that time frame is. So let's go to view report. And so what this says is, this is what, if you put 8,000, I'll highlight it. If you put $8,000 of income into the HELOC and you have an interest payment based off that 8.76% and you have charges of $49.90, that difference is what lives on the HELOC. So that's where that 97 or 94,485 in month 2 comes into play. So at what point do I get halfway through or have enough room to be able to make another $50,000 chunk to pay off the remaining balance on that rental? Well, that point is right here. Yeah, I knew it was going to do that. It's going to slide down a little bit right there. So that point is right about here, meaning at about month 17 is when I would be able to make another $50,000 chunk to be able to address the remaining balance on that rental property. So in 17 months, so I've been doing velocity banking, right? Putting all of my income onto the second position HELOC, paying all of the expenses from the second position HELOC. The balance is living on the second position HELOC. So I'm just doing velocity banking. And again, notice I haven't written one number. This is what the HELOC calculator said based off 8.76%. So in 17 months, I would have got enough room on that HELOC to be able to make a second chunk. So now let's go back over to that messy graph that I have.
Yep, we're going. Here we are.
So what's happened here? So again, when we dumped that $100,000 onto this rental, it dropped that balance down. And so over the next 17 months, we've been doing velocity banking. We've been doing velocity banking on that second position HELOC. And within that right around that 17 month is now where I have enough room to do what? Take another $50,000 from that second position HELOC and chunk the remaining balance on the rental, pay the rental off. So I'm going to pay the rental off at month 17. But when I do that, what happens with the HELOC? The HELOC jumps back up to 100, which means I have now maxed out the second position HELOC again. So again, just to step through it. In month 1, I took $100,000 paid down on that $158,000 balance to 58 grand left. Recast the mortgage, increased my cash flow. And then for the next 17 months, all I did was velocity banking. Put my income in, paid expenses from my second position HELOC, and then I did it all again. And then by month 17, I had enough room created on that second position HELOC where I had another $50,000 that I could then pay off the remaining balance of that rental property. So in 17 months, the first property has been paid off. All right.
17 months.
Congratulations. 17 months. The rental property's paid off. But now what do? We have a second position HELOC that's maxed out. We have a property with no mortgage on it. And we've been, I'll call it methodically, also paying our minimum or paying our mortgage payment on our primary home. Well, we have a rental property with no mortgage. How would the bank receive that? How would the bank receive you and your credit worthiness? Would it be possible to now go to that bank and say, hey, I know you guys traditionally don't fund rental properties as easily as you fund or provide funding for a primary residence. But hey, I now have a rental property worth to maybe $300,000 with no mortgage on it. Would it be possible to now get a first position HELOC on my rental property? And you may be asking for 80%, but most banks don't loan at 80% on a rental property. And they don't realize this, but you're actually okay with that. So let's say they come back with a 66% LTV on your rental. A 66% on a $300,000 property worth, well, a rental property worth $300,000. So a 66% LTV on a rental property worth $300,000 equates to $200,000. So what we're asking for is a $200,000 first position HELOC on our rental. Why? Well, once you do that, we're going to take $100,000 of that $200,000 and pay off the second position HELOC that we originally had. So that's kind of what the next stage of this this graph kind of looks like, and I'm going to walk you through it on the HELOC calculator and the mortgage calculator as well. But I just want to make sure I call it out on the on the graph here. So again, at month 17. We're going to chunk our last 50 against the rental, pay off the rental. The rental's gone. There's no mortgage due or left on the rental, but my HELOC did jump back up to 100. And so now, because my rental property has no mortgage on it, I'm going to get a first position HELOC on my rental at the same 8.76% for $200,000. And what I'm going to do with that $200,000 is twofold. I'm going to take $100,000 of it and pay off this HELOC. So I'm going to pay this HELOC off with $100,000 of the one I just received, and I'm going to take the second $100,000 and I'm going to put it on my mortgage. Well, let's talk about this mortgage a little bit. This is the primary residence starting at $340. During that 17-month period, we were paying on this mortgage, just putting on our normal monthly mortgage payment. So let's look at this primary residence by jumping over to the mortgage calculator on the primary residence. Just a minute. Yep, 400. So the original loan on that primary residence was $400,000. Change this to 30. And the interest rate on that primary residence is 2.75. So, okay, we've got a primary residence at 2.75. What is that mortgage payment? So the mortgage payment that she has on her primary residence has always been around $1,600. So she's got a $1,600 mortgage payment. And when we met, she only owed $340,000 on that home. So if we look at the amortization schedule, where does 340 sit? Right here. So let me make it bigger.
Okay.
So that 340,000 sits right about here. And so what I mean by that is when we met, she owed 340,000 on this mortgage. We took a second position HELOC on this 340,000 and then paid off her rental with it, right? And it took us 17 months to do it. So if you count down 17 months from 340 from here, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So right about here, 325. So right about here is 17 months later. So somewhere in this area. So 17 months later, the balance owed on this mortgage is somewhere around 324,000. So what we want to do then, if as it states over here in this graph, we now want to take $100,000 from the first position HELOC on the rental, take $100,000 and dump it right here. Well, where are we on the amortization schedule? 27 years, 30 years, so 30 from 27, so we're at the 23-year mark. So what that says is when we recast this mortgage after dumping this $100,000 on, this number is going to become 224, and we're going to dump it. So when we dump the 100,000, the balance on the mortgage becomes 324, and then we're going to recast the mortgage based off that $224,000 mark. So we're going to recast the mortgage from here based off where we are in the amortization schedule when we dump this $100,000 on. So what does that look like? So come up here. So now we want to change this to 224. I think it's 224, right? I'm sorry, 324. Yeah, I'm right. 224. So now we want to come here and go, what does 224,000 look like when we recast this mortgage? Again, it started out as 324 at the end of the 17th month. And then we dump $100,000 from the first position HELOC, and that changes that balance from 324 down to 224. And we want to start from year 23. Same interest rate. So what does that look like? So now our payment has gone from $1,600 a month down to $1,100 a month. $1,600 down to $1,100 just purely off recasting the mortgage. And why is that important? Well, if you remember when we were paying off our HELOC, the reason this plays a role is because the less we pay in expenses, the more cash flow we have. The more cash flow we have, the more money going towards paying down the HELOC. The faster we pay down the HELOC, the faster we have availability and equity to be able to pay a bill or pay off more of the home. So this is very important, the fact that when we recast, we now have more money in our pocket. And because we have more money in our pocket, that allows us to pay off debt faster.
Woohoo!
So
Love to hear it.
So what I also want to highlight now is the HELOC calculator. So with that being said, hide the report. So now we're talking about a $200,000 HELOC that we're about to pay off. We've got a $200,000 HELOC. Oops, sorry. $200,000 HELOC, and these numbers have changed. Because we've paid off our rental property, this number is no longer $4,490, meaning our expenses have gotten smaller. And then because we got a first position HELOC on that rental, and the mortgage payment has now gone down, this number's even smaller. So I want to slide over to the other side to just walk through what those monthly expenses look like now at this point.
Oh, it didn't. Hold on. Okay.
Okay. Take your time.
I mean, my wrist, I got to do some stretches over here. All these buttons I'm clicking.
So
You think you're
again,
putting in work.
income hasn't changed, but expenses has. It immediately went when we paid off when we when we had dumped $100,000 initially onto the rental property. It dropped the expenses down to $44.90. But then we paid the rental off. Remember, the rental mortgage payment was $800. $800 out of this $5,000 means our expenses had dropped down to $4,200. But then we took we got a $200,000 HELOC and paid off that one HELOC and dropped $100,000 into the mortgage of the primary residence, which means we now are paying even less in expenses. So now our new expense number is $3,700. So income hasn't changed. We're now paying expenses of $3,700. So when we slide over here to this HELOC calculator, we're going to change that monthly expense from $44.90 to now $3,700. So we're going to recalculate. Oh.
And just to call it out, just because if they wanted to do this for themselves and look, the URL at the top, anybody can go and access these, right?
Oh, absolutely. This calculator, I hit a wrong button, so my apologies. I need to go back. These calculators are readily available to whoever wants them. Matter of fact, there's many different calculators out there. This I wouldn't necessarily say this is the best one. This just happens to be the one that I'm using. So again, it was a $200,000. That's 20. I need another zero.
Antonio in here killing it in the chat.
So we've got a $200,000 HELOC. Again, the expenses are $3,700. So how long would it take to pay off that $200,000 first position HELOC on that rental? We are talking about 58 months. But is the objective to pay off the HELOC? The HELOC is nowhere in this equation around the goal. The goal is to pay off the primary residence. So, okay, how long does it take then for me to get to, because that's $200,000. How long does it take for me to get to the $100,000 point? Meaning, when I get to that $100,000 point, I want to make another chunk onto my mortgage. Why? Because right now the mortgage is $224. When I get enough room on this first position HELOC, I want to make another chunk of $100,000 to bring the payment down even further, and then I'm going to recast again. So my point is, yes, it takes 58 months to pay off the second position. I'm sorry, it takes 58 months to pay off this first position HELOC on the rental of $200,000, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to get to here. So let's view the report to understand where on this amortization schedule for this HELOC do we get to $100,000? Meaning, where is there enough room for us to be able to then leverage another 100? So right here between the 31st and 31st and 32nd months, we now have $100,000 of room on this HELOC. So in about another 31 months, I want to make another chunk. So now let's slide over to the visual, to the graph.
Yep.
And I got to make it smaller so that everything fits. But just so we understand what's happening here. So again, this was that after 17 at month 17 is when we made all these adjustments. At month 17, we took that $200,000 of that first position HELOC, and we put $1,000 on the primary residence, and we paid off $1,000. We took $100,000 and put that on the primary residence, and took $100,000 and paid off the original second position home equity line of credit. And then for the next 31 months, we did velocity banking. For the next 31 months, we put all of our income onto this first position HELOC. We paid expenses from the first position HELOC, and the difference in income and expenses is our cash flow. The cash flow lives on the HELOC. So for the next 31 months, all we did was do velocity banking. This is not rocket science. This is everything that we've been talking about as it relates to velocity banking with the HELOC. This is no different. There's no action taken that you don't already understand. And we recast that 324 down to 224 over that same 23-year period. And we've just been paying the normal mortgage for those same 31 months. But okay. But what happens at the 31st month? At the 31st month, something special happens. We're going to take another 100,000 and we're going to chunk another 100,000 onto the mortgage. So it started with 224, but at this point, 31 months later on the amortization schedule, it's now 205,000. And let me show you better than I can tell you. 31 months later, if you go over to the mortgage calculator, 31 months later, go to here. There we go. 31 months later, we are sitting, let me make this bigger and let's draw on it. Okay. 31 months later, we're sitting at around 205. So again, when we recast this mortgage at 224 based off the 23 months or whatever that time frame was, it gave us a new amortization schedule and a new mortgage payment. And that new mortgage payment, all we did was pay the normal mortgage payment. We didn't put anything extra. And in 31 months, we're down to 205,000 as it relates to what's left on that mortgage. So now what we're going to do is take another $1,000 from that first position HELOC and put it here. Well, when we do that, it's going to change this number from 205 down to 105. And then we're going to recast the mortgage again based off 105,000. I won't go into that, but I want to come over here back to the graph and just kind of talk through what has taken place. So at the 31st month, we've taken another $100,000 from this HELOC and dumped it into this $205,000 mortgage, which then brings the balance down to 105. And then we're going to recast the mortgage again based off that 20-year period, which is where we would be sitting on the mortgage calculator. So when we do that, it's going to take another 26 months before we're able to make another chunk to pay off that mortgage. And again, I stepped through this HELOC and this mortgage calculator to show you these are not my numbers. I don't know that we need to continue going back and forth through the calculator. Hopefully you believe that the numbers that are on this graph are true. And it is that it takes another 26 months after the 31 months to be able to pay off the primary residence. But when we pay off the primary residence, what happens to the balance on the HELOC? Well, I've been paying it down. I dumped another 100 on it, paying it down. Then I dumped whatever the remaining amount was to pay off the primary residence. So that means when I pay off this second residence, I do have a full balance of $200,000 on the second position HELOC, meaning I paid off 2 homes, but I still have a $200,000 balance left on my first position HELOC of that rental at 8.67%. Nowhere in her goal was it, I want to pay off this HELOC too. But let's say you do. It would take another 44 months to pay off the HELOC using velocity banking and using the increase in cash flow based off paying off both properties. So moral of the story is, how long did it take for her to be able to pay off both properties? It took 17 months plus 31 months plus 26 months. 17 months plus 31 months plus 26 months. If you add all 3 of those together, you end up with somewhere around 74 months. And if you just simply do that math, 74 divided by 12 is 6 years. So again, her time horizon, let's go back to her story. She had a time horizon. She had a goal. If I can find it here. There it is. She had a goal, and that goal was to pay off both homes. And her time horizon was 15 years. I'll write that on here. So she had a 15-year time horizon. What that means is she wants all of this done by age 68. She's 53, 15 years is 68. She wants all of this done by then. So With that time horizon, we were able to get both homes paid off in 6 years. Well, now she's 59. She's 59 with a $200,000 HELOC that needs to be paid off, but 2 assets. And I would think it would be safe to say that in 6 years, those assets are probably worth upwards of maybe $900,000. So she has some significant assets available to her. But my question is, what does she do? What does she do with those 2 assets to be able to now build income? Because notice, I didn't interject any of my opinions or my thoughts into what it is she wanted to do. She wants to pay off these 2 homes. Let's do it. At what point do you start building wealth? Because if you remember in her list, it was pay off the homes, increase cash flow, increase the income, so debts are paid off, and then generate wealth, build legacy in a span of 15 years. Okay, so she does have options though. She's 59. We can jump over here to my handy dandy secure compound interest account and let's play with some numbers. She's now 59 years old. She's got an asset worth. She's 59 years old. She's got an asset worth. Again, I'm going to say upwards between the two. I'm going to say upwards of $800,000, $900,000. I'm going to be realistic here. Because she still has to pay off the $200,000 of the second position HELOC, I'm not going to be aggressive and take all of her cash flow and dump it into a secure compound interest account. And I'm not going to be ridiculous and take a bunch of second position or first position HELOCs out on these properties to put her even further in debt. Here's my thought. What if we sell the rental? And I'm assessing the rental being worth somewhere around $400,000. So at age 59, we're going to sell the rental. We did. And here's the part that irritates me. We did all of this work to sell off the rental. But anyway, I don't know how else do you get equity out of a home to be able to use it to build income. We can take out another HELOC, but then you still have to pay that back. So my best assessment was we sell the rental. And when we sell the rental, that's going to leave us a nest egg or a lump sum of about $400,000. So let's dump this $400,000 into a secure compound interest account. Age 59, 68 is still that range. Dump in the $400,000 and I'm going to take $1,000 of the cash flow. I could take 2. I could take 2,500. Like there's many different numbers I could choose, but I chose 1,000. So what that would mean is by age 68, she has now available to her $85,000 tax-free for the rest of her life and liquid cash available of $687,000. Again, she sold a $400,000 asset, but she now has $687,000 liquid available to her. No tenants, no toilets, no trash, just cash. And if something were to happen to her, she has a death benefit. She purchased a life insurance policy of around $3.1 million. And if something were to happen to her around age 68, she's passing on a legacy, a death benefit of $4 million. Here's my challenge. And this is my question to her. We did all of this. At age 53, she's making $120,000 a year. I would assume that in retirement, you would want to be making the same. Now, you got rid of the rental. Maybe you're in a position to downsize. Like there's many different scenarios we can walk through. But my assumption is you still want that $120,000 of income. How do we achieve that? Well, the only way we can achieve that here is increasing our monthly contributions, which we can do, or by increasing the lump sum. And why are those the only things that we can do? It's because we lost 6 years of time. So I don't want to belabor this example. I want to leave this example here, but I want to set the stage for the second half of this discussion. What if she would have followed my thought process? This was everything she wanted to do in the order that she wanted to do it. But my question is, what if she would have followed my thought process? And I'll give you a high level example as to what this looks like.
Wait.
Cliffhanger.
We have to hold on 1 second.
Because my producer told me to wait. She does not want me to give up the cliffhanger yet. She wants to keep the people engaged. So
that's not it. It's that if you tell this answer, what the heck is going on with this? If you tell the answer, then we can't use it as an exercise so that everybody can learn together. Okay, that's what
I'm not going to tell you.
there's there's two things I want to say. First of all,
Yeah.
does his mic sound hot to everybody else? Because it does to me. And I
Meaning, am
know
I too
you.
close?
No, it's. I think your gain is too high. Can you turn
I
that
don't.
that
I don't
button
even know what that
down?
means. Anybody know what gain means?
That's what I just trying to tell you. Turn the button down just a little bit and see if that fixes it.
Turn a knob. I'll turn a knob. Knob is turned. Can you hear me now? How about now?
Yeah, no, we can hear you really good. It's just that when you start to project, it kind of distorts a little bit. So I was just trying to figure out if it was just me or not. Okay, so there's that. We've been in the chat, and I asked people who could participate in the chat to tell us where they thought you were going with this. Like, what other options are there? And so before you go into what you would say
Okay.
that you would do, okay. Okay, they're like, yeah, now he's quiet. Now, yeah, it was horrible. Sounded
Oh,
like
horrible. So
sounded like
cats.
cats.
Oh
Just
my
kidding.
God.
No, they didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
I'm like,
I
okay,
was like, oh my God, because I would hate that. Like, are you kidding me?
sounded like
I would have
screaming
turned me off.
cats.
How about that?
Okay, this is what we were doing because there's infinite amount of ways. Everybody has a different situation, and this is the power in this type of example. Go ahead, go ahead.
You're absolutely correct. This example that I walked through is one of millions. There are so many different angles here. We didn't have to, we could have paid off a portion of the home, take equity, dump it into a secure compound. There's so many different things we could have done here. I just wanted to follow the prescription that was provided. And that was, I want to pay off the home. I want to increase my cash flow, and then I will focus on my legacy. Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Let's see what that looks like.
And I don't think that's bad. Like 80,
Yeah,
what is it? What
still
did I say?
amazing.
Yeah, $85,000 tax free after taking whatever that rental is worth and dumping it in here. Like I don't disagree with that. I think the piece that I wanna just connect to is this. Why wait? If all I'm going to do is sell this property, why am I waiting to sell this property? Why am I losing 6 years of compound cycles? Matter of fact, 6 years is one cycle. So
Yeah.
what that means is in 6 years, she prevented her money from doubling one time versus just starting right now. And maybe you can't start with the amount that you want to, because a lot of people that I talk to, it's not just that the weight of debt is on their shoulders and they want to get it off. It's also, I want to be able to make I'll call it a substantial contribution into my retirement. So I want to get this weight off my shoulders so that now I can dump it all in. And I get that in theory, but the best thing you can do for you is pay yourself first. Like, start
Right.
now. And okay, maybe you can't put in that substantial amount, but what can you do? What can you do to, because this is a machine. What we are creating here is a machine that once you get it running, it will run on its own. And so you start that machine now. In 6 years from now, when things are paid off and you're in a better position, then okay, dump it in then. But you didn't wait 6 years to start the machine. The machine has been running. The machine has been building secure compound interest over time. And then when you get to this point, when you have paid off the debt or have paid off the bills or whatever the case may be, now you're able to dump in even more, which means the machine is running even more efficiently, which means now you have even more income versus not paying yourself first. If there's any other message, aside from the, hey, I can pay off my mortgage in 17 months. Yeah, you can do that. But the message that I want sent is pay yourself first before you pay a bill, before you pay your mortgage, before you recast your mortgage. Pay yourself first. Any questions, sweetheart?
These comments are cracking me up. That's why sometimes I have to go off, because if you're being serious, but I'm reading these comments and I'm laughing, it's not appropriate. It just doesn't match.
It's all
One
good.
of these things is not like the other. Okay, Cynthia says, absolutely missing a compound interest cycle makes a huge difference. Rule of 72. We have a whole series on compound
Jesus.
cycles and the rule of
That's
72.
it. That's it.
Yep. And so that's in a playlist here. We do have some questions, and I put them kind of in a queue so that we can go through them. But I want this exercise because the whole point here isn't that you have to find an expert or you have to find someone who will give you advice. When you learn these strategies, now you can figure out how to put your map together, right? And
Absolutely.
that's kind of the whole point. It'd be one thing if we were out here saying, you have to, only we know how to do this, or only certain people know how to do this. And that's true right now. But we're starting a movement. We're starting a movement for people to become self directed and learn these strategies and then go teach other people how to do this, right? So that we all level up together. That's the whole point.
Absolutely.
So first of all, second of all, there are infinite amount of ways to structure something like this so that, and it also depends on your goal, which is why you always ask, right? And Antonio was in there, as Donnell would say, what is your goal? I love reading stuff like that because it's so true. If you stay focused on the goal, right? And you stay focused on what is possible for you, then you're going to get there. And if you understand what is available to you too, and especially where your leverage is or is not, then you'll understand how you can get there and be able to do the math past the surface math. So many people will get caught up in that whatever the interest rates were for the HELOC, right? Some
Right.
people will get caught up right away and they'll go 10% for an interest rate for a HELOC and she had 2.25% for her mortgage. Heck no, why would you do that?
You bring up a great point, and I want to make sure I slide this in here as well.
Slide it in.
So you're absolutely right. What I walked through was taking a 8.7%, 8.76% HELOC for both a secondary and a first position, and use it to address expenses so that you can use it as leverage to pay off your mortgage. There will be comments under this live, and when we cut it up into a video that we'll talk about, wait a minute, you did say she makes 8,000 and she has 5,000 in expenses, 8,000 minus 5, that's $3,000 of cash flow. Instead of doing all of this, why not just take that $3,000 of cash flow and dump it into the mortgage? Like, how much faster could you pay off the mortgage balances if you would have just simply take the cash flow you have and dump it in? And I did that math. First off, I think you guys remember this. There's a difference between equity and cash. There's a difference. One, you have the ability to do some things with beyond just pay a debt. The other is you get to watch it. That's about all you can do, or sell your property to be able to get the physical cash. But still, for those individuals who, why don't you just take the 3,000 and just put the extra 3,000 on the mortgage? If you were to do that, per the mortgage calculator, it would take you 9 years to pay off both properties. So it would take you 9 years if you just simply used your cash flow, your liquid $3,000 a month, and paid extra payments onto your mortgage. It would take 9 years to pay off both mortgages, compared to the 6 using this process. But there were things that you were capable and able to do within these 6 years that you would not be able to do within 9 years of using your cash flow to pay off your mortgage. And that is access your money. Okay, unless you get a first or second position HELOC. But then we're right back to where we were. So I don't, But my point is, for those of you who wonder why we don't just take the cash flow and pay off the mortgage, and it's mainly because you can't access the funds when you do. In this situation, in using these, the second position and the first position HELOC to address the mortgages, if there was any emergency anywhere, if she wanted to take a trip, she wanted to buy a car, she wanted to pay another debt, she has the liquid cash available to be able to do so. There's no restriction on how she can use the equity in or within those home equity lines of credit. There's no limitation on how she can use those lines of credit to be able to address anything that comes up, because it's accessible to her at her fingertips by the form of a debit card. Whereas if you do this with just putting your extra cash on a mortgage, you have access to none of it. And that's the reason why that, to me, is not a realistic approach. So, soapbox off.
Okay, hold on one second. Okay, we know that we have, or almost, might be over now, 50% viewership from TV, YouTube on TV. And so we just to be able to accommodate because there's not everyone can participate in the chat, right? So here, look at me pointing in the right
I
direction
think it
this
goes that way.
time. Just grab that QR code and then you can text us and then we can read your comment and or address it right here live. So we'll give you just a second here. Get your phone out, take a picture, and then give us a text. Make sure to put your name in there so that we know who we're talking to. But we can keep it anonymous too and not mention your name up here. Also, we're going to jump into the Q&A now so that we can get through some of the questions. So if you have questions or you want to see what your numbers look like, you can do any of that either in the chat or by texting us your information. Cool? Anything you want to add?
No, I would like some feedback. It feels like I blew through this example. It is how it feels to me. So
Yeah.
if there's any clarity needed on, wait a minute, you said this, but I missed this part, or I looked away, or I went to another screen and came back and you were already over here. If there's any clarifying, any clarification that's needed, I'd say I'm open to addressing that as well, because it feels like I like blew through this example. So
Yeah, it was like fire hose. And I'm going to just tell you right now, it was a lot of math. It was a lot of numbers, a lot of figures, but there are a
but
lot of
not
questions.
mine. They all came from the HELOC calculator or the mortgage calculator. So fight with that one.
Yeah. Well, you ready to start with questions? Okay. All right. So this one from Splendid Life. Does the recast happen automatically or do we have to request it from the bank?
Great question. And I also had to educate myself on recast as well. Because if you watch other lives, when I talk about recast, I mention recasting your mortgage and starting that 30-year amortization schedule over. And that is wrong. That is flat out wrong. So is recast something that happens automatically? No, it is not. It's something that you have to request. But what's that cost? That cost is traditionally right around a couple of $100. There's no refinance required. This is something that most banks allow you to do as many times as you want, but they do have a limit to, or I guess it's a limit. I guess it's a limit to the amount that you have to be inserting into your mortgage in order for a recast to happen. Meaning, I think it's like a minimum of 10 grand or something like that. But most banks will allow you to recast as often as possible. And from their perspective, because you're using the same interest rate, this is not a refinance. There's no closing costs. There's no application to fill out. It's really just an exercise in math for them. So therefore, they don't charge as much to do so. But it's not something that happens automatically. You do have to ask for it.
Okay. Next one from Mark. He says, that's what I need to find out as to how or what to ask for.
Well, if you were to ask me, I'm going to start with, what's your goal? Right?
But it's true. That's true. When he walks into the bank, though, I think that is part of the question is trying to explain to somebody a first position HELOC. If you walk in and say you want a HELOC, they're not going to ask you which position.
Absolutely. And don't be shocked that when you walk into the bank, they have no idea as to what it is you're talking about. Why? When you're talking to a banker, and I'll use Bank of America as an example because that's who we got our first position HELOC from. When I walked into my local, I know Tony by name. Like he and I have conversations all the time. He knows my whole history. When I talked to Tony about a first position HELOC for my mortgage, he said, man, that's not something that we offer here at Bank of America. What do you say to that? No, you don't? Bruh. Like you're wrong? Like what do you say when you're sitting with the subject matter expert?
Right.
And again, because I don't do HELOCs, I ended up joining a community that educated me in this space. And we put that, it's Replace Your University. We put that information up on our site, so you can go check it out as well if you want the white glove service to understand how to go through this process. But that's what I needed. I needed someone to hold my hand through this process to help me understand what is it that I'm missing and what questions to ask. Here's what I learned. Bank of America absolutely does offer a first position HELOC. It's just that bankers have a list of products that they can offer you. So when you sit down, their job is to offer you those list of products. The only way you're going to get beyond that is you have to go to the direct person that offers these types of vehicles. Well, that's by name. How do you get that name? Like, who has done the work to understand at these banks, at what branch, what the names are, what's the phone number, what are the questions to ask? There's a whole community out there that can help you with that. So how do you know what to say, who to ask for? I would start with, if you're walking into a branch, hey, I am interested in to access the equity in my home. Let them share with you what those opportunities are for you to be able to do so. And as you hear the word HELOC, ask if it's first position or second. And if they give you the confused look like, what is that? Then you're probably you're probably going to have to go to some other banker other than them, because they are uneducated. But what I would suggest is you get educated in the process so that you can spend the time with your banker to educate them. And that's what we ended up having to do. I had to educate Tony.
Yeah, you sure did. Tony is grateful for it. All right, now they're coming for us because they need to have where are the receipts? Greg and Vicky are watching. They're like, listen, am I missing something, or is he not including the rental income in her income?
Perfect. And when I did the income and expenses, that income and expenses absolutely includes. So that 8,000 in income is not just 120,000. That 8,000 includes the rental income, and that initial rental income on their property was 1,241, which means 441 went into our income. 800, which is the mortgage on the rental property, is what was in the expenses. So it is absolutely included in that $8,000. Absolutely.
Okay, we have more questions, but I want to jump ahead because we have a lot of people saying in text, chat, wherever they're watching from. They're like, "What was he?" Well, you paused it, Angelique. You were like, skirt. Hold on, wait a second.
Oh, what was I going to say?
Into it, right?
Tune in next week.
We are leaning in here. We're waiting for it to happen.
You're going to have to tune in Wednesday.
Wednesday, we are going to.
My producer said it. I'm sorry. It wasn't me.
We are going to completely break it down. You could give them a preview of what we're going to be talking about, though, because here was the whole point. The point is that I wanted everyone to maybe start thinking about different ways that Claudia could have structured this differently. And remember that it's 15 years. She's in 15 years, she wants to retire. Right. This is what we have to work with. So whatever your variables are, right? You start thinking of, okay, these strategies that I've learned so far. We had some people put in the chat. There was a lot of, she could put it into MPI, right? Buy multiple properties and take some of that rental cash flow and possibly fund more with her MPI.
So many. Yeah.
She could put more towards her compound interest account or create another one.
Absolutely.
There was a couple of examples like that. And then, of course, there was a lot of like MPI related ones. And then I didn't flag these ones, but Harry, he was saying buy multiple properties. He was just like, buy them all. And
this is that Burr method, right? Rinse and repeat. And I go back to, that's the reason I mentioned this at the beginning. Most people that I talk to with rentals, their cash flow is somewhere between $400 to $600 after all of the expenses are paid.
And so the joy is stripped out of their life because it's stressful.
Right. And so if we're talking one rental property bringing you $500 and your income is $120,000 a year, or you're trying to get to that $8,000 a month in income, then how many rental properties do you need to achieve that $120,000? Well, 500 times 12 is 6,000. 20 times 6 is 120. So you need 20 properties in order to be able to achieve your income. That's a lot.
Yeah, Harry, you don't want to do that.
There's a much easier way. Yeah. And the highlight of what my approach, again, I'm a retirement planner. When you come to me and you say, I want a legacy, I want to produce income, my objective is to understand where are the opportunities to achieve that income. And a lot of people that I talk to about their homes, I'm getting a lot of this. I ask the question, is this your forever home? Meaning, do you plan on being in this home for the rest of your life? And I'll call it 8. I won't say 9 times out of 10. 8 times out of 10, that answer is no, this is not my forever home. My goal is to move to where my grandkids are when I'm at whatever that age is and whatever that state is. So this is not so if it's not your forever home, then we need to look at this home differently. How can we leverage this home today to get you to your goal so you can go be with your grandkids?
Yeah.
Versus I need to pay off the home, then sell the home, then go be with my grandkids, but I haven't done anything to build income so that when I'm with my grandkids, I can give them whatever they want.
Or
Yeah, I've got this. Go ahead.
or have financial security.
Exactly. So for me, if I've got a primary residence with equity, I've got a rental property with equity. What if we get rid of the rental property? What if we sell the rental property and start our secure compound interest account right now with whatever those proceeds are? What does that look like?
It
How does
looks like
that help you get to your goal of being able to spend the time that you want to with your grandkids?
that looks like working smarter, not harder. That's what it looks like. Okay, we have some questions about the workbook, so we're just going to throw it in here real quick.
Doom 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 da da.
Oh, it's
Doom, da, da.
thing.
What's wrong?
It was supposed to say, like, if you are getting value from this, give it a thumbs up.
Like if you're getting value from this.
Okay, this is the where you can get the worksheet, and if you already have gotten the worksheet and you're looking for the updated version of the worksheet, I need to send out that link again, I guess, because only the new people opting in would have gotten that link. I didn't think that through. So let me send out an email to everyone who's opted in. My bad, that's on me. I will make sure everybody gets the most updated version of that. But there it is. Surprise, there's an updated version because it was some of it sucked and had to make it better. So that's really what it was. And all of you giving your feedback, it's true. So all of you giving your feedback is how we've made this just a really strong tool to be able to not only just see where you are and know your numbers, but in addition to that, we now have a ChatGPT prompt in there, and it's for ChatGPT 4. It works the best with that version. But if anyone else is able to figure out how to make the free version of ChatGPT work with this, just for the schedule to auto-populate your schedule in, then we're open. Like, let's collaborate, get in the Facebook group. Let's make it, it's a community effort here. We grow farther and faster when we grow together. We wholeheartedly believe that. So jump in here, bring your strengths, bring your gifts, bring your friends.
Let's
Okay.
make Google Sheets great again.
Let's make. I can't do that seriously because, okay, moving on.
I'm sure
All
there's
right,
a lot of
so-
questions because you haven't really hit me with many. Let's go.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say this though. Could you answer them faster? Because,
That's fair.
okay,
That's fair.
that's all. Because there are a lot. There are a lot coming in.
Boom.
Yeah.
That was a rib shot. Nice.
Okay, so, oh gosh, hold on. Let me get. It's not a shot.
I know what you mean. I know.
Oh, I also want to say shout out to Antonio Rodriguez in the chat because he has been answering a lot of questions. He manages a bank, and he
you,
was
sir.
even saying that his bank is taking steps to support people who are using velocity banking strategies. So, in addition to that, he's also been teaching his clients these strategies with HELOCs. He's a small local bank, but then he's sending them to you. So that's amazing. Tune in, bring more people.
What I'm curious is there any comments that did I do anything that was incorrect? Because again, I am sharing with you my thoughts. I am not a tax attorney. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a banker. I'm not any of those things. I'm just a guy who likes numbers. And this is how my logic works. And so I'm sharing with you what that looks like. So I'm curious if you saw anything that you went, nah, that's not how that works, or something like that. Because I'm very curious.
No, so far what I've heard is the only thing that people are concerned about is, so I'll just ask a general question, is where do you get access to products like these? Because they've called their bank and their bank has said no. And then here's Alandio. I think you've already spoken with him, or I know I've seen him on your calendar.
Yeah.
He's saying the challenge I'm having is finding a bank to put all my income into a second position HELOC so that my income can live on the second position HELOC. Do you have any suggested places?
Yeah. So, and here's the challenge with that. Banks can start and stop at any time changing their process, right? What you're looking for when you're looking at a HELOC, whether second or first position, what you're looking for is a HELOC with a banking and a routing number. So the structure of that HELOC really, really does matter. If it has a banking and a routing number, 9 times out of 10, you can use it to also, you can use it to get money into it and you can get money out of it because it functions the same as a checking account. If they are disguising a HE loan in the form of a HELOC, meaning you have the vehicle or the amount of dollars available, but the function, it has to be done only by withdrawal, meaning you have to take the money and put it somewhere and use it to take action versus the vehicle itself is able to be used. And I don't have I'll call it a magic wand to say, hey, these are the banks that do it one way versus the other. It is absolutely trial and error. It is absolutely interviewing banks. But I go back to when I was doing this, I decided to use a white glove service to help me through it. And the reason I decided to use a white glove service was because I don't have, my time is better used addressing our business. The last thing I had time to do was to focus on interviewing banks. And so if you go to our self-directed.info site, you can absolutely gain access to your ability to be able to have that same white glove service. I don't really have much to do with them, but they are a service that will help you understand what questions to ask, what banks to talk to, what place to go to be able to accomplish your goal.
Yeah, it is a hand holding, like
Absolutely.
they are with you every step of the way. So if you need
Absolutely.
that and that's something that you desire, then you can that those services do exist. However,
Absolutely.
that's not to say that you can't do it, that you
Right.
can't be successful and do it on your own. I
Absolutely.
want to get in there, guys, and learn how to do it, and then we'll each one teach one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do VA loans offer recasting?
They are the ones that I've seen who have not. Now, I haven't talked to everyone who has a VA loan, but usually when I've run into someone who can't have their loan recast, it's because a lot of times VA loans come with so many different perks that I think one of the, I'll call it stipulations to be able to have those perks is they are what they are and they stay the way they are. So I would say VA loans are usually the ones that I've seen that you cannot.
All right, next up, we have Valerie.
Was that Self Help Nation? What was his name? I just thought that was a dope name, but I caught it at the end.
Self Help Nation Coach, LK.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a
Well,
dope name. Self Help
it's a
Nation
vibe.
Coach.
Self help, self directed. It's a movement. Yeah. It's good. Get in here.
Control.
I had the question up. Dang it.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. That was my fault.
No, it's all right.
Squirrel.
Okay. It's because I can't see anyway, and they can't make the text bigger for me. Okay, hold on, guys. Dang it. Okay, Valerie says, I think she was guessing where you were going with cliffhanger. Her guess is she could have sold the rental in the beginning.
Man. And again, why would that have mattered? Again, 6 years is a full compound cycle. So the selling of that rental would have meant, let's call it $200,000 that's compounding for the next 6 years. How much more income could have been achieved during that 6 year period of compounding $200,000 compared to waiting and compounding $400,000 at year 9? Like it's just math. It's just math. That it kind of leans right into the same reason why I tell people to take their Social Security the minute they hit 62, because it's just math. 62 till 90 will always pay more than 2,000 from age 72 till 90.
Yeah, Miss AB wants to know, she would like to be able to also see what would happen if she just sold the rental from the very beginning.
Tune in Wednesday.
I think I think this, there's a, okay, hold on. Nick says, I got on late. However, are you referring to using equity in your house to invest? Invest in what, really?
That's a lot there. Yes. Okay. Let me phrase it this way. We're talking about using your home as a vehicle to leverage to build wealth. And that's something that just most of us haven't been educated to do. We have a mortgage, we pay off the mortgage. Once we pay off the mortgage, we now work on our retirement, or we will take money from our 403b and our 401k so that we can put a down payment on a home versus using our home as a vehicle. So yes, this is about using your home as a vehicle to build wealth, but invest in what? That is actually open to you. There are some strategies that we talk through. I am a retirement planner. I focus on creating IRAs and 401ks so I can build self-directed IRAs and 401ks. So you want to invest in that? I can show you how. And I don't necessarily call it invest. I call it more save. But anyway, invest in that. I can show you how. I'm also a licensed life insurance provider. I focus heavily on secure compound interest accounts, meaning at my age, I don't have time for market loss. So I focus heavily on making sure your money is secure. Name a vehicle out there that keeps your money secure. There's not many of them, but you get a properly designed, properly structured secure compound interest account. You can produce two, if not three times the income of a traditional retirement account. So what is that vehicle? That vehicle would be a secure compound interest account in the form of premium financing, which is basically a strategy around MPI, maximum premium indexing. That's what that looks like. So
There has to be one. There has to be at least one person to go against the whole chat.
sweetheart, I have a large community of entrepreneurs in the real estate space. That is
Yeah.
not one. There is thousands of them that work directly with me, because you have to understand this. Here's what Carr should be doing. I go back to pay yourself first. So you got these 20, 30 rentals. Awesome. Bringing you passive income. Cool. What are you doing with that passive income? If you 9 times out of 10, you're doing the Burr method, right? You are rinsing and repeating. You're doing it over and over and over again, gaining more rentals. Awesome. What if you simply just skimmed off the top 10%? Pay yourself first. Take that 10%, put it in a vehicle that's actually producing secure and uninterrupted compound interest. So now, regardless of if 2008 happens or not, regardless of if the market crashes or not, regardless if the Airbnb market ends up tanking the real estate market for whatever the reason or not, you've got a vehicle over here that's just building residual income for you, to the point where if you wanted to then leverage tax-free dollars to buy more rentals, you now have a vehicle available to you to do that. Whereas today, today you're probably got these 20, 30 rentals and you're using them and you're leveraging them using bank leverage to be able to get more and doing all of those kinds of things. What if you could use your own leverage? What if you could be your own bank? What if you could, again, skim off the top, build a vehicle that's producing secure compound interest and has a cash value pool available to you that allows you to still buy more rentals using tax-free income? Like you have the opportunity to have the best of both worlds. So I don't think there's anything wrong with 20 to 30 rentals, because those are active investors. Those are people who are actively involved in this process and enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with that. My point is, pay yourself first.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I've got them all starred up now, so I think I don't have to go looking for them.
Okay.
They need to have like more tools for people who are like visually impaired for stuff like this. It's not a vibe. I don't know who you call about that kind of thing, but I'm just putting that request out there. I'll clip this out later, send it to me. Okay.
I know you
Okay.
will.
I sure will. Already answered that one. The updated velocity banking calculator. See, okay. Okay. Isn't there a possibility on increasing the rent at some point in those 6 years? So she's increasing her cash flow two ways.
There's so much that I didn't mention. I didn't mention a raise. I didn't mention increase in rental income.
Right.
There's a whole lot of pieces that I intentionally didn't touch. And these are all things that would just make this process even better. So no, you're absolutely correct.
Scott, he wants the receipts for sure. He was like, okay, no, what you said, keep going with what you said. What would you have done different? So can you maybe just, I keep cutting you off with that because I wanted to share why I cut you off. I'm not going to do that this time. So go ahead and share, if you want, where you're going with Wednesday and what you're going to walk through or walk them through Wednesday so that they understand and, they're not just hanging on the edge of their seats.
Well, moral of the story is I understand her goal. And I go back to, because I guess I kind of left this piece out, but I did kind of say it later. Neither one of these places are her forever home. Like the goal is to put herself in a position to such that she's now free. She has freedom. So because neither one of them are the forever home, then take that rental and get it compounded. Like take 158,000 is what she owe. The home is worth 350, 400,000, whatever that dollar amount might be. Take that dollar amount that from the sale of that property and dump it into a secure compound interest account and get it compounding. And she has great cash flow. So take the great cash flow and take a portion of that and get it compounding as well. And you still want to pay off your primary residence? We're going to do that too. We're going to do that with a second position HELOC, not a first position. Why? We kind of just went to it. The ability to recast does some amazing things. The ability to recast, still be able to maintain the interest rate that you have. So we're going to recast that primary. I'm sorry. We're going to take a second position home equity line of credit on that primary residence. We're going to dump a certain dollar amount within. We're going to recast that mortgage payment. So we're going to still pay off that home in a certain period of time. But while we're doing that, we've got this vehicle building. And then at some point, when that home is paid off, we're going to take that HELOC and we're going to dump even more money into that secure compound interest account. And what do we end up? $85,000 in tax-free income. We're going to do much better than that. In that same time horizon that she has on being able to achieve income, there will be no problem in achieving her current income that she currently has of $120,000. No problem at all.
Okay, this person, me, says, what if you have less time? I think going for a first position HELOC mortgage, he says HELOC would be more facilitative to getting the ball moving quicker when a second position HELOC is not enough and riskier.
And let's highlight the riskier part, because this will end up in the chat at some point or in the comments at some point. It is banks tend to call second position HELOCs due. And there's some truth to that. When the market isn't doing great, the first thing the banks have to do is they have to improve their balance sheet. How do they improve their balance sheet? They look at the liabilities that they have on their balance sheet, and they try to figure out which ones they can call. Like if they convert a line of credit to a loan, that liability now goes to you and it comes off them. So that's a lot of the reason why. And so if you're using this second position HELOC and it's maxed out at the balance and there's not much progress of things being moved on it, then yes, there is a chance that those things would be called due during those moments of down market periods. But having a first position HELOC, just staying on that last part of that sentence a little bit, first position HELOCs are a lot less riskier because they're in first position. Banks want their money. They can't take that first position product off their books as easy. So therefore, the likelihood of them calling them due are less low. But notice in this example, the time frame we're referencing. I wasn't talking to you about these products being through the 10-year, 15-year, 20-year draw. We're talking about 17 months. Yeah, that 31 months was kind of long, but then also 26 months. In the span of time that we're talking about and the aggressive approach that we're taking in addressing them, the best thing that we can do is control what we can control. And in this situation, we are absolutely controlling the fact that we are being as aggressive as we can on this product. So the good faith that we're putting forward towards the bank is we understand how to use this product and we're using it effectively. So the likelihood, I'm going to say it's less likely that the bank would call that due. So I think it's to each his own. First position versus second position. My only point in kind of doing this strategy today was around if you have a mortgage interest rate of somewhere between 0 and 3%, there are other options available to you versus automatically jumping into a 10% first position HELOC. That's all I just wanted to share. If you've got great cash flow, there's nothing wrong with that 8, 9, 10% first position HELOC if your goal is to aggressively address the debt. Because in aggressively addressing the debt, you're still minimizing the amount of interest that you end up paying because your cash flow ends up living on the vehicle. So I think it's to each his own. Everybody's different.
Yep. Okay. We have some, let's see, questions. Is it a how-to video on how to fill out this worksheet? Yes, I have. Let me go back here.
You know you're not on camera.
Yeah, I had to
Hi.
find my way back. Where are you guys? I have questions about the worksheet. Okay, I have a question for you guys. Would you like a whole live stream just focused on the velocity banking worksheet and kind of how to go through that and get whatever questions out? We can even have callers call in now, so we can set that up, and that way you guys can call in instead of having to type things out. So we could do that. Are you interested in that? Would you call in? Would you want to be called? Or we would have to actually call you, so we'd have to do it that way. But would you want to do that? And then two, we also had a suggestion. Scott has had a great suggestion that we do one of our live streams just Q&A. So whether we add another live stream, and it's not necessarily that we have a topic to teach, it is just a Q&A session. So we could either trade one of our live streams out, either a Sunday or Wednesday, because we'd go live twice a week, or we add a third stream in, even if it's a shorter session, just to do Q&A. So that's some of the feedback that we are looking for as well. Okay, let's go back to the questions, and they're coming in. So we've got some, and I just had to check from our texting service, and oh, she said they had the question, but then they didn't put the question. So I'll go back here and make sure that I get all of the questions lined up from the text. We have just a bunch of compliments coming in from LinkedIn. Thank you guys so much for tuning in over there too. I haven't seen anything coming in from Facebook, so I'm a little worried that they're not popping in. So I'm going to go check that. Quick question from Mark Zimmerman. What happens when the time runs out on your HELOC? Like, what happens at the end of the 10-year term?
Yep. 10-year draw. So it depends on the product and where you get the product from. But in most cases, the 10-year draw just means, hey, you can get money into and out of it during that 10-year period. At the end of the 10-year, it becomes basically a loan. And therefore, you can't get any more money out of it. You just have to pay it off. And whatever the interest rate is, I think, I wonder if, I don't know if it's still variable at that point, but I do know it just kind of, you no longer have the ability to take money from that home equity line of credit. It just basically becomes a loan that ends up that you end up having to pay off. Usually what I tell clients is if it's a 10-year draw, around year 8 is when you should focus on getting another one. And that's kind of the exact same approach that I'm taking. We're in like year 6. So around year 8, we will be putting everything in place such that we can replace this first position home equity line of credit with another first position home equity line of credit.
I'm so glad I asked this question or mentioned it, because in the chat are all these suggestions about what things I can do. There's even a special monitor they said somebody on YouTube has that has vision issues and legally blind, and that it helps them. So I need all this, because I'm like, no, I'm trying to tell my husband, no, what I need is an 80-inch screen
And we're about to
TV
get
on
one.
the wall, and then just make everything, just keep making it bigger so that I can see. That's easy, right? Just have a whole thing. Okay, so can you do it with a credit card too?
Can you do it with a credit card? Can you pay off your home with a credit card? Like this $158,000 rental, could she use a credit card to pay off this $158,000 mortgage? Absolutely. You can absolutely. Now, should you? Does it make sense? Like, those are all questions that you didn't ask. Can you use a credit card to pay off that rental? Absolutely, you can. Depending on the type of credit card and their flexibility and ability to be able to use it. But short answer to that question is yes. Velocity banking is velocity banking is velocity banking.
Okay, that's good. Short answer to the question. Does the interest you gain does the interest you gain from MPI is offset by the interest loss from not paying off the home loan?
Oh my God. I don't say that again because
Okay.
you took me out with that one. And then you pat me on the back. Good job making the answer to that question short.
I'm trying to be encouraging in the right ways.
I'm listening now. I'm listening.
All
Go ahead.
right. Does the interest you gain from MPI offset by the interest loss from not paying off the home loan? So
So here's
if you start your MPI plan sooner, but you're paying more in interest on the home than is the interest that you're gaining with the MPI, I think Self-Help Nation, is that what you're asking? Because that's what I think he's asking.
and I think I got it.
Okay.
Is the growth inside of a product like MPI more than the impact that it would be having on the interest being, the interest being accumulated on your mortgage? And I'd say in the short term, no. In the long term, yes. The thing about a secure compound interest account is it moves slowly. But you give your money, you give a product like that enough time, because of the uninterrupted secure compound interest, you will get to a point where it would place you in a position such that you could pay off that home. Matter of fact, I am a fan of paying the least amount possible into your home, getting the rest of your money compounding. And when that shift occurs, you can use the tax-free growth inside of your secure compound interest account to then pay off your home if that's a goal. So early on, absolutely not. Early on, I think everything beats MPI. Everything early on, a 401k is great. Early on, an IRA is great. Early on, crypto is great. But over time, when you allow your money to mature and grow and build and create employees and continue in that fashion, there's nothing beating this.
Okay, he has another good question, so I'm just going to throw it up right after this. It would be nice to see what the total interest paid at the regular payment on the home versus investing 3,000 cash flow and MPI over and the same period. And I actually think we kind of did this before, and we didn't show it tonight because we wanted to verify the numbers. So if I, especially when I do the math. So we did have the interest broken down by like what she would have paid if she would have just continued on, and then how much she saved or how much she actually paid with using this strategy. So I'm gonna just put it out there. He's gonna verify it, but I think I'm right. Okay, and it's like $12,000 is all she really saved by doing this strategy with what she would have paid in interest over time, because the interest rates are obviously different, right? The difference is though that you lose a compounding cycle, right? It's gaining leverage. You don't have leverage, and also you have a compound cycle that you can work with here. Whereas if all you're doing is spending an extra $12,000, but it's just easier to keep making those payments and then using whatever cash flow you have towards something. I think the difference that if you've seen him do this before, which we do have somebody wanting to run figures. So, and by the way, instead of me texting everybody back, if you put in, I have a question into the text, just put your question. That way I can keep going here, and then I'll read your question. I'll come back and get it. The year one and year two are important. So where it seems like, you know what, I'll just start a little bit now and then later I'll get more aggressive. I think you could probably show them with this next example why that makes a difference. Fair enough?
Yeah. You said there were numbers that you wanted to run up?
Yep. Okay. Carl says 38-year-old male with a monthly premium payment of $1,000 for 35 years.
Riley says hi, by the way. I don't know if you guys can hear.
Yeah. That's our dog.
Yep. 38 years old with a monthly premium of $1,000 a month for 35 years. That's a long time. That's 73. And it was $1,000 a month?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So significant. And again, I think I did that math right. You said 35 years, 5 and 8 is 13 plus 1. So that'd be till age 73. So we're talking about 279,000 tax free for the rest of your life. You would have an asset worth about 2.7 million. The death the life insurance that you're purchasing is about 360,000. But if you were to pass somewhere around that 73-year mark, you'd have about $4 million in death benefit that you would be passing on to your beneficiaries. If you were to do the same thing inside of a 401k, I'd say $94,000 taxable is not a bad income. But man, look at how much you had to accumulate to be able to get there versus 279,000. And so, with that being said, while he did say 73, I mean, you've got room here to back this down to, what does this look like at 65? Which is traditional retirement age. We're talking about 144,000 tax free for the rest of your life and an asset worth 1.3 million. Pretty awesome. And it's time. It's right. It's just giving your money time.
Yeah. And the point that I was making is really about the year one and year two. I was addressing what was going on at the front door, but year one and year two, I think that's one of the important factors. And so we can walk back through that. We've gone over that a lot. So a lot of you have probably already seen that, like that there's something special that happens in year three that makes this completely different, and why the first 2 years are so significant, because the now, let me say that again, start over.
Rewind.
Scene. Okay. Now the power that a HELOC can have on crushing debt and just creating leverage, right? But when you see what a RELOC can do, what is it? A RELOC is a retirement equity line of credit.
Completely made up word.
Well, it's what it is. It's how it functions. That's why
it's absolutely appropriate.
Yeah.
It's an appropriate description of how leverage is being introduced into your secure compound interest account. Because here's the thing. MPI is just an IUL on steroids. So you can get an IUL from anywhere. You can structure an IUL properly such that it produces income for you. Like, that's awesome. But what you can't do is add the leverage. And the RELOC, retirement equity line of credit, is using leverage inside of this product that allows you to produce income faster, which is why this gentleman putting away $1,000 a month at the age of 38 is capable of producing $280,000, $270,000 in tax-free income for life. Again, tax-free income for life. And it's because it's in a vehicle that is secure, but also is adding leverage that helps that money grow even faster. So pretty powerful.
Okay, cool. Let's see. I have a question. Oh, about the worksheet. Okay. What if one monthly income gets cut after getting, what if their monthly income gets cut after getting the first position HELOC?
What if
I think what they're saying is,
what if I lose my job?
Yeah.
What if so I've got the first position HELOC. So I think this is awesome too, because we have run into this situation.
We sure have.
When we picked up our first position HELOC, I ended up getting laid off from my director job with Banner Health. And when I got laid off, we were in the midst of a first position HELOC. Well, because there was no income coming in, I was able to take income out of my HELOC, put it in my checking, and put it back in my HELOC. That satisfied the payment.
Right.
So it was a vehicle that, if it's structured properly, there's a lot that you can do here. And just simply, because again, we didn't have income coming in. So because we had room in again, the video was 200 months ahead on our mortgage. We were 200 months ahead on where you would traditionally be in our mortgage. So there was cash flow living on the HELOC.
Right.
All I would do is take whatever that whatever that interest only payment was, take it out of the HELOC and put it back in the HELOC. And that satisfied the payment. Now, would I suggest you do that? No. But does this vehicle offer you the flexibility to be able to handle emergencies when emergencies come about? Absolutely. And again, who's going to tell you can't? This is absolutely a capability of a product like this when it's structured well.
Yeah. And I think there's been some questions about for entrepreneurs, does this work for somebody who doesn't have a steady income and knows how much they're going to be making every month? And I think
So
that this is powerful to talk about because there are so many people who are in this position, and why it really was a powerful tool for us for this very reason.
absolutely. And this is a space we live in. Like, we aren't talking about something that you can do. We're talking about something that we currently do. And because we are entrepreneurs in this space, our income does fluctuate. And so as it relates to our first position HELOC, you have a great income month and you dump all of your income into the vehicle, the income is sitting on the vehicle. And so if you run into a situation where you're in a lull of a month and you need to use some of that room to be able to address bills or whatever, you have that full autonomy and flexibility to be able to do so. But in addition, I'm a guy who doesn't like monthly payments. Our MPI plan, we don't pay monthly into our MPI plan. We pay annually. Why? Because I'm an entrepreneur. So what do? Every year we put we put our income into our first position HELOC, pays down the balance on the HELOC. And then at the end of the year, we take a sum out of the HELOC, dump it into our MPI plan. Then the balance goes back up on the HELOC. Then we do what? We do infinite banking again, and we pay back the balance down on the HELOC. Then we take another dollar amount when we dump it into the vehicle. We pay ourselves first. We skim off the top. Everything that I'm suggesting you do is what we currently do. We are not talking about things that I find amazing or that I think would be great to do. This is exactly the process that we walk. These are exactly the steps that we take. I'm not sharing with you anything that we don't already do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That part.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've got, gosh, there's so many. You guys are doing, and you guys are all in here chatting with each other too. So it's hard to kind of pick out. But I think what Antonio said now, Donnell, not all banks allow you to get HELOC from investment properties, only the home loan. So
You bring up another point. Not only that point, but I think this goes with that question before. Entrepreneurs, it's difficult for a bank to even approve an entrepreneur for a mortgage, let alone a first
Right.
position HELOC.
Right.
And this is a code that I have not been able to crack. And just so we're clear, I am in the same boat. When we get close to our draw period, we are going to have to requalify for another mortgage. What does that mean? Well, as an entrepreneur, what do most entrepreneurs do? They try to make sure they show as little income as possible. Well, banks don't see that as very favorably when you're talking about trying to get some type of loan or line of credit from them. So that's why I said at year 8, we start this process, because at year 8, we need to structure ourselves such that we do have the sufficient amount of income coming in so that we look favorable to the bank to be able to get a product like this. So what you're speaking is facts, sir. It is absolutely very difficult for us entrepreneurs to be able to get vehicles like this, which means we have to structure ourselves properly, structure, control, get self-directed. We have to structure ourselves properly such that we do look favorable to a bank and are able to achieve products like this, because it is a challenge. There's no magic. There's no magic. Like I can't poof. Here's all you need to do. I don't think it's like that. It is absolutely a strategy that you have to take to be able to structure yourself properly to be able to be approved for products like this.
yeah, and it's math, not magic, right?
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. Antonio, we would love to talk to you more, to ask you questions about how you guys are structuring things to be able to offer services and products to people who are more like us, velocity bankers and entrepreneurs and people who are using these unconventional strategies. And sometimes and to your point though, Donnell, it's not that somebody doesn't qualify, it's that they have to be qualified in these traditional ways. And that's the part.
Fit the narrative. We have to fit the narrative of the bank, right? The bank needs us to look a certain way. We're
Right.
sheep. We have this 40-hour-a-week job, and all that does is it tells the bank, yes, they will make their payment. That's really all this boils down to, right? If I'm if I follow the traditional means of income, I've got a W-2 job and I work my 40 hours a week, that just tells the bank I am more likely to pay my bill when it comes. Us entrepreneurs, because we fluctuate all over the place, it sends a message of we're less likely, right?
Oh, here's a good one. Universal life isn't whole life, though, right? So the death benefit isn't guaranteed until death.
So, I like to answer questions that weren't asked. So let's start here. Life insurance products, cash value. I mean, there's two types of life insurance products. There's term, there's permanent. Let's throw term out because we're not talking about that. There's permanent life insurance. Permanent life insurance includes whole life, variable life, universal life, index universal life, and probably some that I've forgotten about, including MPI. So permanent life insurance means that there is a death benefit. Death benefit means there's two numbers. Now, you get a poorly designed product, that death benefit will only include one. Meaning, you go to State Farm and you get a life insurance policy, and they're going to share with you, hey, you're putting away $500 a month. The death benefit is $200,000. What does that mean? Well, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, the State Farm will pay out $200,000. Your death benefit is $200,000. But the truth is, the death benefit is two numbers. The truth is, the death benefit is the life insurance plus the cash value. But the problem is when you're buying products from places like traditional life insurance companies like State Farm, you're not building any cash value in the premiums that you're paying. They are keeping those premiums and they are compounding those premiums and making money off of you. But when you get a properly designed permanent life insurance policy like whole life, variable life, universal life, index universal life, MPI, all of them function the same. The death benefit is two numbers. It's the full life insurance plus the cash value. So it's both. So it is guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed.
Dang it. All right. We have another question, and let me pop this out because this is becoming like a problem. Okay. It's about the $200,000 that you left in the HELOC.
Still has to be paid.
Yep. And they said, how long is it going to take to pay off at 8.76%?
44 months. So, and here's where I came to that number. The $200,000 that's left over, remember, because I no longer have a mortgage and I no longer have a mortgage on my primary and I no longer have a mortgage on my rental, my cash flow has increased. So instead of it being, and I don't remember what the number is, but instead of it being 8,000 with expenses of 5,000, it's more, it's 2,600. It's 8,000, but my expenses are 2,600. So when you do that math, it's going to end up taking, and I can go over to the HELOC calculator because it's sitting right there. But when you do that math, 8,000 and 2,600 in expenses, it takes 44 months to pay off that $200,000 first position HELOC. Yeah, the $200,000 first position HELOC. Yes.
Yeah. Or he doesn't pay it, she doesn't pay it off and she continues to leverage it over and over again, depending on what, and that's kind of the fun part. It's almost like handing a coloring page, and you say, well, how would you color this page? There's infinite amount of ways to structure this, and everyone's variables are different, right? Their puzzle pieces are different. Their colors are different, right? So what they have available to them is going to be different too. Case in point, someone's an entrepreneur, someone's not. Scott's asking, hey, well, I've got a 2.625% mortgage. Would a second position HELOC be better for us than a first position to keep our low interest?
What's the goal?
Right. And where's your leverage, and how does your leverage weigh in on that equation?
Right, because there are infinite answers here. Depending on what your goal is and what is it you're trying to accomplish. Because there are some people out there that have to pay off their home. Like their goal is to pay off the home. There's a second and a first position strategy I could apply that would help pay off the home, depending on the goal and also depending on the cash flow. Is there sufficient enough cash flow to be able to compensate for a 8, 9, 10% interest rate? Because if there's not, then I don't know that a second position or a first position is the right answer if there's not enough, if there's not sufficient enough cash flow to be able to address what's coming. And the whole point in having cash flow is to minimize the amount of daily interest. The way you minimize the amount of daily interest is you put velocity banking. You put all of your income, all of your savings onto that tool to reduce the amount of interest that's accruing on a daily basis.
Okay. some of the questions were just, what is the difference between a first position and a second position, and how do you determine or assess which one would be more appropriate in a situation?
Depends on the goal. uh, First position or second position. From a bank's perspective, all of this is coming from the bank's perspective. When you get a mortgage on your home, from the bank's perspective, the way they make their money back is you pay your mortgage. So the most important product, the most important position of that product, the first position of your home is that mortgage. That's in first position. So from the bank's perspective, that's the most important thing that you can get from them. If you go to the same bank and you get a personal line of credit, a business line of credit, a home equity line of credit, everything is going to be outside of that first position, which is the mortgage. The mortgage is the most important. That is the biggest thing that they care about. So everything else is I'll call it can be called due or shifted or changed. I've never heard of a story where someone's mortgage was converted into something at the bank's whim. But everything else in any other position has there's autonomy for the bank to be able to adjust if they want, unless there's some contract that was signed that says they cannot. So here's what I mean. Let's say you get a line of credit from a bank based off the equity that you have from the mortgage that you've been paying down and what the value of your home is. So again, in first position is the mortgage. The house is, so let me just use real numbers. Let's say you've got a mortgage of $250,000. You've been paying your $1,100 a month on that $250,000, but the home is worth $300,000. So there's $50,000 of room. So home is worth $300,000. You got a balance on your mortgage of $250. You're paying on that $250 on a monthly basis. In first position is that mortgage. That $50,000 that's available in the form of a home equity line of credit is what would be in second position if you accessed it. So mortgage in first position, HELOC in second. Well, most people don't realize you have the ability to replace that mortgage with a first position home equity line of credit, meaning the home is worth $300,000. You have $50,000 of equity available. You have a mortgage of $250,000. You can replace all $250,000 with a first position home equity line of credit. Why would you do that? You would do that if you're wanting access to the equity in your home, or if you were wanting that product to be open-ended, meaning you wanted to be able to get money into it and out of it, meaning if you understand velocity banking, you understand how to use a debt tool. So if there's a way to turn your home into a debt tool, why wouldn't you do it? Now, there's a litany of things that we can go through as to why or how you get approved for that and whether or not you should. But the moral of the story is, in position, that whatever's in first position is what's most important to the bank. And replacing a mortgage with a first position home equity line of credit now places that home equity line of credit as the most important vehicle. So the likelihood of a bank calling that due is very low. Anything after that would be a second position, meaning you could have a first position HELOC and get a second position HELOC. How do I know? Because I have one. So you are absolutely able to do that, meaning anything that you get in second position is what the bank can, I'll call it, have less leniency on compared to what's in first position. A lot of words. Hopefully I answered that, because I know I went back and forth a couple of times. So I
Yeah,
apologize.
Scott was saying he sold me on paying it off. The goal would be to build retirement income, and he's got a mortgage with a decent amount of equity, it looks like, so he's got some
Significant.
leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, hopefully what you saw was the second position. I don't know what your interest rate is, but the second position strategy could be effective as well. Meaning, what if you took $100,000 in second position and took all 100,000 and dumped it into a secured compound interest account? Use it to start building retirement. Yes, that means you now have two payments. You have a mortgage payment and you have a HELOC payment at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%, whatever it is. So cash flow matters, meaning maybe you are or are not in a position to be able to do that. Maybe you take all 100,000 and you dump it on that 279, and then you recast the mortgage at 279, And when you recast the mortgage, that drops your mortgage payment from wherever it is to, what would that be? Maybe almost a 2/3. No, it would drop it about a third. And so if that's the case, now you can take whatever that third is and dump that into a secure compound interest account and have that start working for you while you still address two payments. It's a smaller mortgage payment and whatever that $100,000 second position HELOC payment is. But in doing velocity banking, you use all your cash flow to live on the HELOC, which means you pay it down faster.
Oh, Antonio's killing it. He's in here just helping us out with clearing up some of these questions. Splendid Life asked a good question, I felt like. So how would a bank allow a first position HELOC through another bank? So I think they're asking, if you have your mortgage with one bank, with
Yep.
one financial institution,
Yep.
how would you be allowed to get a first position with another?
Yep. So let me walk you through an actual example. Who was our original mortgage with, sweetheart?
Free.
For some reason, I'm thinking Nationwide, but I don't think that's it.
No, it was green like that.
Yeah.
This is.
So let me give you an example. Using our own personal example, we had our
Right.
mortgage with some bank, Nationwide, some company. I can't even remember the name of it. But when I was shopping around looking for first position HELOCs, I was literally interviewing banks. I had a list of questions that I was going, hey, do you offer this? Can I do that? If they would say no, I would move on, or I would grade them, or I would pit them against each other. I ended up landing on the bank that I've been banking with for 17 years. I mean, since I was 17, not 17 years, since I was 17.
Yeah,
And
that's way longer than 17 years.
thank you. And, and again, our mortgage was with some other company. I can't remember the name. But when I found that Bank of America does offer a first position HELOC, all they needed to know was, how much equity do I have? As long as I had enough equity to allow them to refinance my mortgage into a first position HELOC, that's all that was questioned. And I had more than 80%. I had more than 80% LTV, so therefore I got an 80% LTV first position HELOC. And when you reach that dollar amount, whatever that 80% is, you take that dollar amount and you pay off the mortgage. You now have a first position HELOC in place of your mortgage. So it's not a let. It's more of I'll call it a qualify. There are banks out there that will do 100% LTV, 90% LTV. There are banks out there, and let me say this because it'll be in the comments at some point. There are banks out there that will allow you to do a purchase with a home equity line of credit. They do exist.
Yeah, there was I was trying to find those questions because that was absolutely a question that had come up, was I did not know that you could do this. And of course Antonio's in here like, yes you can. Yes you can. So he's in here. We should just mod him up. I don't even know how to do that, but it sounds like a thing we should be doing. Okay, so there are some other questions in here about homeowners insurance requirements for first position HELOC. Are
Oh.
those different?
Okay. So there is no escrow account with a first position home equity line of credit. There's no escrow. So I have to, and again, it's velocity banking. Where does all of your cash flow live? It lives on the home equity line of credit. So when taxes are due, you take that sum out of your home equity line of credit and you pay your taxes. I am responsible for all of those things. Now, I think we're talking about PMI.
Oh, well, he said homeowners insurance
Oh yeah,
requirements.
no different. Homeowners insurance is, well, my
Cheap.
homeowners insurance is actually through State Farm, so they're not even. So yes, you still have that. My point is, you are responsible for all of those: the homeowners insurance, taxes, the whole nine. That is your responsibility. But again, from a velocity banking perspective, I want all of my money living on my HELOC all year, and then I'll address whatever that debt is. When that time comes, but I want all of my money living here versus it's sitting in some other account somewhere else and allowing a bank to pay it off, and they are benefiting off the interest of that money versus me.
Man. And if you haven't done the math on that, it's really important to understand how much interest you're actually paying. It may be a 2% fee. It may be a 4% fee. It may be something better than what is currently being offered now. But if you do the math and just look at your amortization schedule and see how much you're actually paying for your home, I think it should be illegal for them to say a home is $300,000 if you're paying $600,000 for this home. I think it should be illegal to call it that. But not everybody stays for 30 years, so who knows what they actually ended up paying for it, I guess.
Oh, that's a game too. Banks know you're going to end up refinancing every 3 to 5 years. Banks know that that clock is going to continue to keep starting over. So that's the whole point.
So Splendid Life is saying that they have been wanting to refinance, but they're not because of the fees. And so do you have to pay refinancing fees and closing
Man,
costs for
great
a
question.
HELOC?
So, and again, I am speaking from my personal experience. We refied from a mortgage to a first position home equity line of credit. That cost was less than $1,000, zero closing costs. Banks do not make as much money on a refi from a from a mortgage to a first position home equity line of credit. It is not the same process, but it's
Okay.
also less work for the bank.
Yeah. Ruben says, does it make sense?
I love his picture, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, now I can see it. Yeah, that's a good one. Ruben says, question, does it make more sense to start velocity banking? Dang it. If you're getting ready to move in a couple of months, or should we use the money and the savings for moving costs and continue to save?
So if you're doing velocity banking properly, that means you've identified a debt tool. And all velocity banking means is where traditionally your cash flow, your savings is sitting in your checking account, that same dollar amount is just sitting on the debt tool. And it pays down the debt tool faster. And because it pays down the debt tool faster, it allows you to now go tackle more debt. So if you're doing velocity banking properly with a proper debt tool, when these expenses like moving and other things come about, all of your cash didn't go anywhere. It's sitting on the debt tool. So if you need it to go address the move, then you take it from the debt tool to go address the move. But the purpose of it sitting on the debt tool is it reduces the overall interest that you're traditionally paying on that tool and allows you to pay off the balance of that tool faster. In short, that's all velocity banking is. It is not about paying off a home, buying a car, or paying an expense. No, it's taking what traditionally would sit in your checking or savings account, sit that on the debt tool, pay that down faster. When you got all this room on the debt tool, what do you do with it? Well, you go pay other bills. So what in essence is happening is you're using the same dollar multiple times to be able to pay off debt faster.
Okay. Vincent says he kind of missed this part. How many years do you recast over? He missed the part where you said about the 30 years was wrong.
Yeah. So recast. So what does recast even mean? All it's basically saying there is the banks allow you to take a large chunk, somewhere around, I think at the minimum is 10,000. So the banks allow you to take a large chunk and dump that onto your principal. And when you do that, let's say using this example, it was a home worth 210,000. The balance on the mortgage was 158,000. So original mortgage started at 210. She had paid it all the way down to 158. That's a certain point on the amortization schedule. Let's call it year 21, whatever that month is in year 21. Well, when you dump a lump sum onto the mortgage, so in this case, $100,000 was dumped onto that 158. On that amortization schedule, it went from year 21 all the way down to $58,000, which was some other year, right? Some other year closer to paying the home off. Well, when you recast the mortgage, how about this? If you do nothing, you're paying the same mortgage payment that you were paying at 158,000 at 58,000, even though you just dumped 100,000 onto your mortgage. But when you recast, you bring that 58,000 back up to year 21 or whatever that time frame is, and now you're going to spread 58,000 over the next 21 years, so you keep the same point in time on the amortization schedule, and you're spreading that 58,000 over 21 years, which means it reduces the monthly payment. So what was $800 a month gets reduced down to $290. But the assumption is you're going to spend that $290 over the next 21 years to pay off that $58,000. But if you're doing velocity banking properly, we all know that 58,000 isn't going to last, but that's kind of the thought process. And how I was originally communicating it was this. I was wrong in stating when you recast your mortgage, it starts over at 30 years. That's what I was saying. But no, it's based off where you are in the amortization schedule. So it starts from there.
Okay, he said, got it. Thank you. All right, Nate wants to know, velocity banking with a line of credit or credit card is fast. Is it possible to add a first position HELOC to accelerate that even more?
Yep. And this is in line with the statement that I made earlier, whereas velocity banking is really about addressing that debt tool. So I met with a person who said they were using 2 credit cards to do velocity banking. And my response was, then you're probably not doing velocity banking. Because the truth is, all of your income should be going. The whole purpose is putting all of your income on that tool to pay that tool down. And when that tool is paid down, you go and pay other debts. You go get other, excuse me, you'll get other debts to pay back or pay off using that debt tool. And so in this case, yes, it does happen fast. And yes, you can accelerate. But if you're using only one tool, it's either going to be that credit card, or it's going to be that line of credit, or it's going to be that home equity line of credit. So it's not, I'm using multiple tools to be able to pay down debt. It's one or the other. So you graduate. We graduated from using a credit card with a 29% interest rate to a credit card with a 9% interest rate to a home equity line of credit with I think that time is like 1.2% was the interest rate. So we graduated, and eventually when we moved to another tool, we just kept the same process, just using a different tool.
Yeah, and that's the power of understanding where leverage is, because then when you see a new... Did you see what it just did to me? Instead of putting me in, now it's taking me out. Okay, well, that should be on our bingo card.
Nobody should put baby in the corner. Right?
That's on our bingo card, that this thing just randomly decides when I come in or go out. Okay, Nate, if you want to walk through your personal example, or anybody really, that this is what, the slots on Donnell's calendar are for. You just got to know your numbers before you jump on the call with him, so that you guys can walk through everything.
Well, let's be clear though. I am not a velocity banking guru. That's not what I do. We can talk through your numbers and where the opportunities are and what can be done differently, but I focus on income. My question is going to be, what's the point? Why are we doing velocity banking? And when you tell me it's because of these things, my question is going to be, without magic wand wave, boom, velocity banking done, all debt gone. Are we accomplishing our goals now when we do that? And the answer is yes, then okay, let's fine tune that. Let's understand how. If the answer is no, my question is why. So, before we, again, we can talk velocity banking, but that is not going to be the bulk of what that dialogue looks like.
And that's on purpose. There are, a matter of fact, we had a meeting with Christy Van at the beginning of last week or middle of last week, sometime in there. And she's someone who teaches velocity banking. We had Denzel, he's coming up. We have an appointment with him. We saw him jump on the calendar. And this is a community. I think that everybody out here has the same vision in mind of teaching this as a strategy, because it is a powerful tool. I don't know anybody who's out here saying that it was a scam. Like we covered the scams, and velocity banking isn't one. Like, we got 99 scams, but this ain't one, right? These traditional retirement tools are what are problematic, and those who keep speaking against these non-conventional ways of not only just getting rid of debt, but understanding that part of this was our programming, part of this was our mindset, part of this was who we believed for so long and why we did what we did. Some of it got ourselves into some situations, right? Some of it prevented us from taking advantage of opportunities because we just didn't even know that it was there. We didn't know. We had no way of knowing, because an opportunity could have been staring us in the face, could have bit us. We wouldn't have known that it was even there, or what it was. Someone's asking about the money to they're about to purchase a property, and they're wanting to know, if you're doing velocity banking, where are you holding the money that you're seasoning? I was trying to find the comment, but I can't now. So I'm trying to I don't know if we can. Oh, here we go. I just think that this is a great question. It may not be necessarily our full lane, but I think that this concept is still part of the problem. So there's this traditional way of qualifying people for loans. Just as this example, right? You have to season your funds. You have to be able to show them where this money came from. This money has to be sitting in an account collecting dust for a certain amount of time in order for it to be deemed acceptable by the bank, right? There's a lot of rules that just do not apply, and they do not serve us, and they are old. They're old rules, and they are hard for people to abide by, and it makes people end up in positions that aren't as favorable. So your whole goal is to buy a house, but you have shot like 14 other opportunities in the down because you can't take advantage of anything because they are jailing your leverage essentially.
Yeah, this is a standard problem that we run into as well. Again, all of our cash flow lives on our HELOC. So when we do run into a situation where money needs to be seasoned somewhere, we take that lump sum out and sit it in that vehicle that you mentioned that's collecting dust, so that it can be seasoned. Like we run into the exact same situation. So where do you put, as if you're doing velocity banking, this is absolutely one of those challenges. And again, I treat the situation that you're referencing similar to the way I treat my credit score. To me, if your credit score isn't fluctuating, you're not using it properly. Meaning, when you get your first position HELOC, don't be shocked if your credit score tanks
Yeah.
because you've just added this large amount of debt. Okay. But as you use that tool in velocity banking, your credit score starts to bounce back up. Well, I only need my credit score to be high when I'm looking to make a purchase. So when I'm looking to make a purchase, I'm going to take the necessary actions to be able to get my credit score to where it needs to be. But until then, I don't even care. And I look at the same way as this seasoning of money. I have a goal. My goal is to purchase this home. I know this money has to be seasoned for the next 60 days. So what am I going to do? I'm going to bastardize my HELOC to put this 60,000 or this dollar amount into this vehicle for that 60-day seasoning. And once I get beyond that, I'm going to take that dollar amount and put it back into my debt tool. That's the game that we have to play. I would assume that there are gurus out there that can probably walk you through how to do this better, but I don't necessarily have an answer around what are some of those other actions you can take to get around those kind of things. Because I run into the exact same situations.
And that's what I'm saying though, is that there should be new solutions, no different than retirement income used to look like your company's 401k. And if you didn't work for a company, that was something that you were missing out on, was the opportunity to have company match 401k and have some sort of retirement. That doesn't exist anymore. Those are not our only options anymore. And that's really the point, is the traditional, and I say this, I'm going to say it again. The traditional systems that we've had for decades were designed by people who thought meat and jello made a nice fancy dinner if you put it in a mold with the hot dogs and the meat, sometimes mayo, vegetables would be in there, and they would they would make it in the shape of a bundt cake or whatever, and then they would slice up, they put this on magazines. You would bring your friends over and you'd be like, come over, I made meat and jello, you guys should come over and hang out, we'll have dinner. Then they'll say, you got to come over to my house and have my meat and jello. Now listen, these people who thought that this was a good idea, we're still in a lot of their systems, right? Some of these rules that are in the bank, these are the same rules. I don't know what was in actually going on with the meat and the jello. Maybe that's why some of these things were designed the way they were. We don't need to get into that. Stay focused. We just need to know that there's new solutions now. We don't have to be It's true. Why are you laughing?
Because that rabbit hole was starting to get bigger and bigger, and you started to. I saw you. I'm watching you pull yourself out of that rabbit hole.
It's 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 a good one to go down. We could go down on another stream, but the point is
But
that
here's the thing, though. It's about control.
right.
There are things that we have the ability to take control over, and that is what self-directed is about. It's about you owning what you can own, you being able to control what you can control, and you put yourself in a position so that you can treat these institutions the way these institutions have inherently and traditionally treated us. Become your own bank.
Yes.
Become your own bank such that you don't have to rely on all of these other, almost cursed, all of these means of having to qualify and season money and do all of those things. If you had your own vehicle, if you had your own secure compound interest account with that sum that you're needing to borrow from a bank, then why do you need a bank? Now you don't have to
Yes.
season anything. So the
Exactly.
whole objective is to be able to put yourself in a position so that you have control. You have a previous employer's plan, and you are an active investor out here. You have the ability to self-direct that previous employer's plan to invest in what you want, when you want, with who you want, and you don't have to worry about having to get I'll call it money seasoning or get investments from anyone else. You have the ability to actually borrow from any non-traditional investor. So you have the ability to take control. A secure compound interest account is no different. You build this vehicle such that you're building income and you're building this place, this vehicle, this machine that you are now able to leverage and use. And again, it doesn't matter what the bank's rules are. It doesn't matter what the life insurance company's rules are. It doesn't matter what the 4% rule says about what you can or cannot take as it relates to retirement. Why? Because you have taken control and put yourself in a position to where you get to act when you want to act.
That's right.
And that's the whole point and purpose of all of this.
Man.
Let's get out of here, sweetheart.
Yeah, on that note, the last thing that we like to leave on is about time. And time is the most valuable asset that we have. I think that's what we proved in today's example, is that she can't go back and she can't go back and borrow time. And so we can't leverage time that's already passed. And so we know that time is the most valuable asset, and that you guys are spending your time here with us, and we value that, highly value that, and we don't take that for granted. We go live twice a week, Sundays and Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you haven't already, we rarely remember to ask people, subscribe, bring somebody with you, share us out to somebody else who might be able to use this information. And if you are feeling like, you know what, I don't know anybody else who's into this. Everybody I talk to, they think that this is weird. We're weirdos. We're crazy. This is. They would rather do things the traditional because tried and true, and that they don't want to have these conversations. Then this is the best place to meet other people who are on a like journey, and on to the same goal. Meet new people. Get here in the chat. Be active. Jump in our Facebook group, and you'll have access to all of those things, including some free resources. We've got videos, free books. One of them is the answer to why everyone ends up poor. First, it explains it, and then it gives the answer to how we can change that narrative and change that for us. So on that note, we believe that if you did come from a wealthy family,
You can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
so stay focused,
Stay protected.
stay tuned.
Stay connected.
My name's Angelique,
And I'm Donnell.
and our goal is to help you.
Get self-directed.
All right, guys, we're going to give you those free resources right now, so just hang tight, and we'll see you Wednesday.
Have a good evening.
Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get
Self-directed.